Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Skybound Holiday Expo. It's so good to see you. My name is Hector Navarro. I'm usually joined by my good friend, Miss Danny Fernandez, but she's not here today. She is very, very busy, but it's just going to be me today. But don't worry, Danny and I are coming back for future expos. At least that's what Skybound told us. So we got to hold it to them. Okay, so the Holiday Expo is so exciting. There is going to be so much rad stuff today. And I'm really thrilled to be here. You know, the holidays is one of my favorite times of the year. So happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever it is that you're celebrating or observing, spending time with your family. We really appreciate you coming here and checking out cool Skybound stuff that you love. I am a diehard Skybound fan. So I am stoked about all the stuff that we're going to see today. We got an awesome lineup of a bunch of great segments and panels with all your favorite peeps talking about all your favorite things. We're covering Skybound comics. We're covering tabletop games. We're even going to get to see Dan Merle, my buddy Dan, talking about his new show, All My Movies. And I believe he's going to be discussing, no, I don't want to say what movie it is. I don't want to say in case you don't know, because it's fun and very holiday seasonally appropriate. But before we get into the show today, as per usual, Skybound has a bunch of amazing, insane deals happening on their stuff all throughout the day. First of all, I've been told that 30% off all of their things are happening at the Skybound store, the entire Skybound store, 30% off. You've got collectibles like the Invincible action figures, and I can tell you from experience, they're awesome and I love them. You've got tabletop games there, including Trial by Trolley, the core set, the expansion set. You have got the incredibly giftable, I mean, these are gorgeous, gorgeous books and gifts, the Walking Dead compendiums, plus apparel, which is a fancy way of saying t-shirts, which is a thing that we all need as one of our basic needs. You've got the Walking Dead apparel and a bunch of other stuff. And there are even Skybound mystery boxes, a whole lot more. The really cool thing is there's a little symbol right there in the middle of your screen right now. That is a QR code. Skybound is making it as easy as possible for you to get access to that stuff. So if you scan that QR code, if you already did, boom, it's going to take you right to the stuff that you just saw. And throughout the day, get this, there's going to be exclusive merch launches and things being sold at the Skybound store exclusive to today. And those launches are going to be happening throughout the day. And at the end of each one of these segments and panels, we're going to come back to me, a little home base, going to check in with old Hecky. And then I'm going to give you another one of those QR codes so that you can go directly to the thing that you just saw that was really cool. And you were like, oh, how do I get that? Boom, right there. But like I said, 30% off the entire Skybound store. If you don't want to miss any of the notifications for these launches, you can become a Skybound insider when you go to skybound.com/join. And without further ado, I think it's time to kick the day off. The Holiday Expo is about to begin, and we're starting it with one of my favorite people in the entire world, Peter Santamaria, aka Attack Peter. You know him, you love him. We are now going to be joining Attack Peter in his studio. He's going to give us the behind the scenes on the new stuff that he's working on. Plus, you know, fellow artist Bear Walker is going to be there. So we're going to get a chance to talk to him and Peter. And if we're lucky enough, Peter may be gifting us with something really, really special. So I'm stoked about this. The Holiday Expo is about to begin with Attack Peter. So check it out.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Skybound Holiday Xpo Attack Peter segment with me, Peter Santa Maria, aka Attack Peter. This is awesome. This is an awesome day because I got to share two really amazing projects that we've been working on behind the scenes to bring to you. And both of them are just, I can't believe we're doing it. So we're going to speak to some friends. We're going to speak to Bear Walker, who you guys already know and love from other collaborations we've done that have sold out super fast. And then we're going to be speaking to Brian Tan of Mighty Jaxx. And if you know anything about Mighty Jaxx, that might be a little spoiler, but It's going to be crazy. You got to see what we're doing. It's going to blow your mind. And we're revealing it here today on the Skybound Holiday Expo. All right. So without further ado, let's go right into it. Let's bring on my boy, Bear Walker, and check out this amazing reveal. Let's go to it. All right, guys, I'm here with Bear Walker. He's easily one of my favorite people that I get to work with in this business, and you guys have told me that it's your favorite collaboration that I do. We've released a couple of carved prints, so he actually carves my designs into wood, and we've released some limited ones of those. They've sold out super, super fast, but we have a new announcement. I'm going to let Bear take it away a little bit here and tell us what he's got for us. Bear, what's up, dude?
Oh, what up, man? Well, I guess, yeah, first of all, as always, thanks for having me. Yeah, so, my thing has always been skateboards. So, yeah, working with you on your art has been awesome, but I've always wanted to kind of reinterpret it into more of my art form as well. So, we've taken one of your pieces and made a carved out cruiser with it. And,
Yeah.
Should I show it?
Show.
All right, yeah.
Break the fourth wall.
All right.
Look at that thing, dude. I'm cool now, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Now I feel cool.
So, I want to... Oh, go ahead.
Now I feel cool. Like, I never was able to skateboard as a kid. I had no balance, no core strength. I was like a little chubby guy. And so I've always wanted to, like, have a skateboard. I always felt like a nerd for not knowing how to do it and having it. But now I have an excuse. Look at this thing, man. That's insane.
Now you have your own limited edition skateboard.
Yes. So, Bear, what you were hinting at is that your business primarily before we started working together was creating custom boards, right?
Yeah. So yeah, my bread and butter, my main craft is these carved out skateboards where the carving actually makes the grip. And yeah, and so when I was making this thing, I definitely wanted to respect your art, and I was trying to figure out a way to do that where it didn't like I wanted it to blend, but I didn't kind of take over it. But so like making this little centerpiece where it could be like your straight up canvas, your straight up artwork, exactly how you made it, and then just kind of making my craft around it. I think it blended super well, and yeah, I'm probably gonna make one of these for myself.
It's so nice. I love the colors of the wood changing throughout the board. I love the Takoro's name there in Japanese in the top half of the board there. It's such a nice piece, and this is actually a fully functional board, right? You got wheels and trucks on it and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, I already rode this one a little bit, but yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's super smooth, but yeah, man. With your style and everything too, I really wanted to kind of like pay homage to like your handcrafted paper and like the natural tones and all that stuff. So for this first one at least, I wanted to be like super organic almost and natural looking. So I went with like brown and black fades, then just used a lot of the natural wood, and then just painted a walnut tone for this border to kind of break it up. And yeah, aside from that, it's just like the black stain I was talking about, a little bit of brown stain to do the blends and let like the artwork kind of speak for itself.
I got the fortune to meet you in person about a year ago now, and I got to see your boards in person, and they look amazing on your website. They look amazing online. You do a great job photographing, video, all that kind of stuff. But there's nothing like seeing one and holding one and getting that weight and that texture and that tactile quality in your hand. So I don't ride skateboards, but I am definitely going to have one of these hanging, because the way you have them behind you even is like such a cool look to have mounted as art, the skateboard as the art object. I love it. And I'm so excited that we're bringing it to you guys watching and everybody worldwide. We're going to be releasing, that's right, the first ever Attack Peter skateboard collaboration with Bear Walker, the man himself. I'm super stoked on this. So yeah, man, anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, man. It's just as always an honor to work with you and put some of your artwork on my craft and make something together. So appreciate it. Stoked to get this out to customers and have all y'all enjoy it too.
Peanut butter and chocolate. I feel like, dude, you and me working together, it couldn't be a better fit. I told people in the past, like, this is one of the dreams I had. How do I get the carved quality of my work in people's hands, not just the prints but the carved quality, in a way that multiple people can enjoy it? And this is it. This is what we've been doing. Our first two releases sold out in seconds. I'm super excited about this one coming out, and definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you like this? You want to see more of these? I know you're gonna love it. We have an opportunity to do more in the future, I'm sure. And when you guys get these, and those of you who've already gotten some of our collaborations, tag us online. Tag me, tag Peter at Bear Walker Official online. Tag them and let us see what you're doing with them, because there's only a few of you guys who got one. So let us know. Thank you so much, Bear. Appreciate you joining us, man. I'm excited to release this, dude. This is awesome. This is so great.
Same, brother. Appreciate it.
Are you kidding me? Did you see that skateboard? That is insane. I never thought in a million years that I would have my artwork on a skateboard, especially one that looked like that. That's right. Takaro is now on a skateboard. So those of you who've been collecting the Takaro prints for a while, they've been selling out. You guys have been super supportive of that. We've been coming up with different ways to feature him. So those of you who may have missed out on something can still get it. This skate deck is rad. Hanging it up on the wall, skating with it. It's amazing. I got a chance, like I said, to see his stuff in person. You're not going to believe it when you see it. So before we get into our next segment, I just want to remind you all that if you head over to the Skybound store, the Attack Peter collection is there, and there are a ton of items on sale. You're going to want to check those out and pick up some t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, prints. There's tons of stuff, hats. There's tons of stuff to get on the shop. So make sure you head over there and check that out so you can be looking real good with your attack gear on. All right, so my next guest is Brian Tan from Mighty Jaxx, and this is insane. This is a huge moment for me because I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time, and thanks to the team at Skybound, thanks to the team at the Mighty Jaxx, my dream is becoming a reality, and it couldn't be more fitting. So if you know anything about this this little character here, the Daruma, you know what it stands for and how people use it to keep track of their goals and their accomplishments. I've talked a lot about it on my show, Attack Peter on YouTube, on my social media channels, and how important this is to me. So I wanted to be able to bring you guys your very own Attack Peter Daruma. And without saying too much more, I want to get right into it so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's check it out. My guest right now is Brian Tan from Mighty Jaxx. And if you don't know Mighty Jaxx, I mean, they're just one of the biggest and most prolific purveyors of amazing 3D art, urban vinyl, I mean, toys, all the stuff that you see, like when you drool over when you go to like designer con, stuff like that. They make the best of the best. So Brian, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Singapore, right?
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here, Peter.
So, Brian, for those of you who don't know, for those people out there who don't know Mighty Jaxx and don't know your role with the company, could you tell us a little bit about that?
So I'm Brian Tan, and I am the Chief Business Development Officer in Mighty Jaxx. So primarily what I do is I set up business deals and help the CEO, Jackson, work out business growth and the strategy forward. In terms of Mighty Jaxx as a collectibles company, I think we've been around for the last 6-7 years. We've been primarily doing a lot of the designer art toys, designer art vinyls. You might have seen some of collaborations we did with some artists like Jason Freeney, where I think we did a lot of the dissection stuff, things that are cut in half.
Yes,
have you seen those? Yeah, so pretty much that's what I do in Mighty Jaxx, and sometimes I make coffee for everybody, but that's part and parcel of life.
Yeah, real team player, obviously. So the reason Brian and I are talking today is because we have an amazing announcement, amazing collaboration that we've been working on, and it's huge news because it's going to be the first ever Attack Peter 3D figure statue. How would you refer to this? Like, I always get that confused. Is it figure? Is it statue? I don't know what the right term would be.
I think the safe term, we could call it a figurine.
Okay.
A non-articulated figurine, right? Because there's no parts that are moved. Yeah, that's kind of the industry term for it. But it can be I think it passes off as a statue as well. It looks really cool, man. Thanks to you.
No, thanks to you. Well, let's talk about it. So about a year and a half ago, I want to say like 2 years, maybe 2 years ago, I do block prints, linoleum block prints. So I decided to carve a Daruma. So a Daruma, for those of you who don't know, is like a little figurine that people will kind of like use as a way to check mark goals. So it's like a little figurine you would put on your shelf. It comes blank with no eyes, colored in. And when you're ready to set a goal for yourself, like, I want to buy a new house, or I want to complete a marathon or something like a big goal, you color in one of the eyes, and you have one pupil colored in, one not. And then the idea is you rest it on your shelf in your house, and then when company comes over and they see it, if they know what the Daruma is about, they say, oh, so what are you trying to accomplish? And then you would explain it, and it's kind of like accountability. It kind of holds you to your goal, right? And I always loved the aesthetic of it. I never really knew what the meaning was, and when I discovered that, I was so inspired because I'm like, what a perfect totem. At the time for me, I was working on figuring out how to become a full-time professional artist. I was a teacher for 13 years, doing the artwork I would wake up at 5:30 or 4:30 every morning to get to work by 5:30, to work for 2 hours before the students would come in. And so I made this print as a way to remind myself, you got to accomplish this goal. And then I would sell the prints at conventions and explain the process. And I think people really connected with it because of that, because everybody has a goal they're trying to achieve. And it's like people say you write it down, and that makes it more realistic. But also creating artwork or creating an image or having an image, I think, makes it more more of a real goal. So we decided at Skybound, and this is why I'm so excited to have you here, to make the first 3D Attack Peter sculpt figure to be a Daruma. And not just any Daruma. I tried to create a Daruma that is unique without abandoning the original design. And we have it here, Brian. I want to show it. So this Daruma is so amazing. I'm so excited about it because I've always wanted to be, involved with toy design. And now we are doing such a premium release with the Attack Peter Daruma that has one eye colored in and one eye blank.
Can I ask you, right? When did you first come across a Daruma, and how did you discover it? And
yes,
just interested to know.
I've always been a fan of tattoo artwork, and one of the American traditional tattoos I love very much. Japanese traditional tattoos I love very much. And so some of the symbols that I would see repeated over and over again, one of them would be a Daruma. I'm like, this is so cool. What is this? And I would look into it. I would see it at restaurants when I would go locally. I just wanted to know what this was, and I just loved it. I didn't even care what it really meant at the time. I just loved the aesthetic design of it. As an artist, I'm attracted to aesthetics, obviously. And when I found out what it meant, it was so important to me that I connected aesthetically and with the meaning behind it, And so this one that we are putting out together, Brian, I'm so excited because I hope that if somebody purchases one and has one in their home, you're not going to really color in the other eye because you could, I guess, but I don't know that you would want to do that. You could, right.
But you wouldn't want to.
For me, that's important because it's the never-ending goal. That's what this represents.
Yeah.
It's
right.
never
That's
finished.
right.
And I know that you guys at Mighty Jaxx work so hard. Just the fact that we're on different, time zones here, talking early in the morning, late at night on your end. We're people who work nonstop, tirelessly because we're passionate about what we do, right?
That's right. And when I first saw the artwork you created, right, I was like, it had a vintage look to it, right? It has this a rustic vintage, very very. It makes me feel like as if I'm going back in time, looking at the feel of it. So when we try to create it in 3-dimensional sculpt, it was very. I guess it was a bit challenging at first. We're trying to figure out how it looks from the sides, from the back, but thankfully you gave us quite a fair bit of art direction and help from how it's supposed to look from the back, and you gave us the little pointers, which is very important, about how angular some of the parts needs to be, and some of the minor scratch marks that makes it more as if it's like a hand sculpted piece. So those were really good points from you, and so it was really really fun and amazing working with you on this one. So we're really looking forward to showing it to everybody.
That's something that's really important. Last year, when I was doing conventions in 2019, my only goal for 2020, the only goal, was that there would be an Attack Peter toy, figure, sculpt. That's the only goal I had. That seemed so out of reach because, from an outsider who doesn't work in the toy business, what my perception is, and Brian, correct me on this or educate me, please, it seems like it's not it's not an inexpensive endeavor. There's a lot of investment that goes into fabricating something in 3D, from the sculpt to the mold making to the packaging, etc. But then, in addition to that, even if all of that is not an obstacle, the timetable to get something done, it takes time. And so, could you elaborate a little bit on that process? Because to me, it seemed like a hurdle that it would take every bit of energy and maybe I wouldn't achieve it, but it's so perfect now that this is the figure, the representation of the goal being achieved itself. So please, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the process, I mean, we work with a couple of artists like you and designers like you. So usually they have a really cool idea and they sketch it on paper 2D, right? And then they say, hey, we want to make it into a product. And like you said, the process sometimes to some people it's easy, but here's a typical process. From a two-dimensional artwork, we need to then pass it to a 3D sculptor who has to kind of imagine all the various angles, the little details that sometimes in a 2D artwork we might not have captured fully, right? So the 3D artist will have to sculpt everything and work very closely with the 2D artist to make sure that all the different angles and the different details are all captured. So, and the other thing is that once we've done the 3D part, we need to then send it for what we call a prototype print. So we print it first, and we'll see if some of the details are lost. If they are lost, then we have to sculpt a little bit deeper so that when it prints, we can capture all the little minor details. So once that part is done, then like you said, we have to get a mold done. Depends on some could be direct to print, some could be based on silicone molds. And then we do what we call a master prototype, where we paint and get all the Pantone colors right, get a final master proto to make sure that the artists look at it and say, okay, that's what I want. Now, once that is done, then we start the mass production process. And that takes about 2-3 months to get a batch of 200 to 300 pieces out. And even then, individually, these pieces are never fully machine automated. Once it's kind of produced by the factories, every single piece has to be cleaned, brushed, smoothed, and hand painted and hand checked again. So it's a very handcrafted, I guess, process. So the whole process may take any time from start to the end of production and shipping. We're talking about at least 4 months to about 6 months, the whole process. And that doesn't include any approval processes. So this is it's not as easy as a lot of people think.
No, it's incredible the work that goes into it, and I have been fortunate, Brian, to be a part of so many amazing products, I should say projects, but nothing has ignited the passion and fire in me like seeing the design through to 3D and the work that you guys did developing this. I mean, you mentioned my artwork does not immediately translate in people's minds to 3D, you know? It has like a flat graphic carved folk look to it, and a lot of it's abstraction, and it's like things that I can pull off carving linoleum that don't always translate into 3D. I don't have to worry about it. It's a flat image, right? And so I noticed when talking to different companies that there was a hurdle that I had to get over in their minds, like, how can this work? But I think that we just blew the floodgates open with this, because when people see this in person and they see this video and they see the images, I think it's insane. Like, the tactile quality of it is far beyond what I could have hoped for. The scaling that we added to the outside, the little carved cuts along the face. I mean, it just makes you want to touch it. It just makes you want to touch it. And then the colors that we decided on together, they just pop. They reminisce. They're reminiscent of a traditional Daruma, but at the same time, it's got its own flavor, and it's just so exciting, man. I'm just blown away. I don't know what to say. You guys killed it.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I've seen a couple of Darumas, the more traditional ones, and like you said, typically they are more painted on. You know, they have skins in terms of the coloring, everything. But for yours, we did quite a lot of scaling and texturing. So it, like you said, when you look at it, you kind of want to touch it and just see if all those details are real, right? And Peter, you haven't seen it yet, but I have actually a printed kind of a prototype in our office, and I was holding it in my hands, and man, it's gorgeous. It's it's much bigger and heftier than most
Yes.
Garumas out there. So this is one display piece that when you put it in anywhere in a room or in a living room,
Yep.
people's gonna take a look at it and say,
Yes.
"Wow, what is that?" It's gonna be a conversational
100.
point. So I'm really excited for it.
That's exactly what you nailed it. My goal with this is if you only get one piece of artwork from me ever, and it's our collaboration together. I mean, Mighty Jaxx is a titan in this industry. Everybody knows. When I told people behind the scenes, yeah, we're working with Mighty Jaxx on it, everybody's like, oh, okay. They don't even have to see it. They just know the level, right? The quality. And so working together, I'm confident that if people grab one of these, if you pick up and you pre-order one of these Darumas, it's going to be that piece, like you said, Brian, that people want to talk about. It's unusual, it's uncommon, and it's charming when you look at it, but it also makes you want to, talk about goals and quests. It's positive. It radiates positivity. It's making you accountable for all the things and the potential that you have in your life. What can you accomplish?
And it's
Yes.
limited edition.
That's
it's
true.
limited edition. Yes, we're not going to make a lot of it. So grab yours while you can.
Yeah. This is going to be the first. This is the first ever official piece of 3D Attack Peter art collaborated with Mighty Jaxx. I'm sure it won't be our last collaboration, but I know this is going to sell through. I know this is going to fly, and it's going to be one of those pieces that if you got one, you got one. If you know, you know. Brian, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. Where can people find out more about your work with Mighty Jaxx, and where can people follow you online and all that? Let us know.
Sure. The first place to go would be our website. So it's www.mightyjaxx.rocks. So mightyjaxx.rocks. That is our official website. And I think from there you can get a link to our YouTube channels and our Instagram, and you can see all the latest cool stuff that we've been working on.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man. I'm sure we'll have more time to talk in the future when this thing comes out. We'll get you on, or maybe on Instagram Live or something. We can get our timing right and just celebrate it, because I'm so excited. I think this is going to be massive. This is massive. So thank you, Brian, so much. And guys, thank you so much for tuning into this.
Thank you, Peter.
Holy cow, you guys, I'm so excited about that. I can't believe it's real. That was my goal last year, to have an Attack Peter figure come out this year, and we got it. We worked so hard, myself, Skybound, and the folks at Mighty Jaxx, and I'm so proud to be able to bring this to you all. Stay tuned for more details on the Daruma, on the Bear Walker skateboard collaboration, and make sure you head over to the shop at Skybound to check out all the sales we have going on, including the entire Attack Peter collection. That means shirts, hats, stickers, hoodies, prints. There's tons of stuff there you really want to get as a gift for yourself or someone else. The stuff looks really great. Couldn't be more proud of it. Make sure you're following me online at Attack Peter on Instagram and Twitter, Attack Peter Art on Facebook, and sign up for the newsletter, skybound.com/attackpeter, to get all the updates in your email inbox about what we're doing. I also have a YouTube channel, so make sure you're following it at Attack Peter on YouTube. We have different shows with awesome guest artists. I do live artwork on there. We go live Thursdays. And would love to have you guys join us over there. So thank you so much. Have a great, great holiday season, all of you guys. And hit me up online. Tag me if you've gotten any of my stuff and have it displayed. I'd love to see it. All right, you guys. Take care. Bye.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Attack Peter. That was awesome. I always love seeing Peter showing off his artistic ability and his projects and his process, and just talking about that. Some of the coolest stuff that I've seen in the art world in a really, really long time. So I'm always stoked when we get to see an Attack Peter panel. Thank you again, man. That was awesome. We love you. And if you're watching this right now and you are drooling and frothing at the mouth, trying to figure out how am I going to get my hands on some of that awesome Attack Peter stuff, well, guess what? We've got the hookup. The Attack Peter merch that you're looking for is on the Skybound store right now, and there are some rad things happening over there right now. We can throw up that QR code so that you can get direct access to it. Boom, boom, boom. There it is right there. You're going to want to attack now, because you've got a Takaro t-shirt there, Takaro hoodie, as well as a Takaro skate deck. Look at that awesome Daruma figure. That thing is so cool. That thing is just like inspirational. It inspires creativity. But the skate deck, I want to talk about this for a second, because it is limited edition as well. Not only are there only 10 of the Akukame wood carvings, but The skate deck is limited edition as well. And Attack Peter stuff, it is literally one-of-a-kind pieces that we're talking about. Attack Peter's merch usually runs out of stock within a few hours. So you have to act fast when it comes to Attack Peter. And look at that stuff. That stuff is gorgeous and just some of the coolest things ever. So guys, scan that QR code. It's going to take you right to Attack Peter's awesome stuff. And then you're going to be good to go, baby. And if you want to be kept up on every time Attack Peter launches his new exclusive merch, you can become a Skybound Insider if you go to skybound.com/join, and then you will be notified every time Peter drops some of his awesome projects, man. Okay, coming up next, I'm so excited about this. We have the Skybound Tabletop Games panel with Skybound's own James Hudson. He's going to be breaking it down, and he's going to show us 2 new trailers for some upcoming games that look incredibly cool, including Pebble Rock Delivery Service and Bloodstone. You're going to see these trailers. They're going to be gorgeous. They're going to be cinematic. It is so exciting. And James is going to break it down. Like I said, he's going to tell you all about the best tabletop games out there right now that you can get just in time for the holiday season. So take it away, James.
What's up, everybody? James Hudson here, Senior Director of Tabletop Games here at Skybound, and I am really excited to tell you all about Analog World. Maybe you're sitting at home, you're in quarantine, you need some stuff to do. We've got you some tabletop games you can play with everybody in your house this holiday season. So we've had a great year. We've fulfilled multiple Kickstarters, things like Tidal Blades, Valor and Villainy. We've got Kickstarters that are upcoming like Bloodstone and Valor and Villainy 2 and Tidal Blades 2. Sounds like a lot of the same things. But anyway, it's a lot of great gaming. And we've also got some games that are just now becoming available, like our Trial by Trolley expansions and Pebble Rock Delivery Service, which is a great family game. So we've got a lot to dig into, so let's jump to it. So right now, we actually have a 30% off across the store discount, which includes our board games. So you're going to want to go in there and fill up your cart. Just go ahead and just like Sorcerer City, check. Barnyard Roundup, check. Tidal Blades, check. And get those sent to you. 30% off. You can't beat that deal. So the next up in our lineup for Kickstarters is Bloodstone, and that's coming January 26th. Really excited about this because we've been working on this game for years. I've been working on a really high-end, at least I think it's high-end, trailer to introduce the world that is fully animated, and we just worked with the artists and just all these talented people. This is not something we typically do for a board game, and we're actually going to give it its world premiere right now, like literally right now. I'm throwing this to the trailer. I hope you enjoy it. This is the world premiere of our narrative trailer for Bloodstone.
Sleep, my baby, sleep. Sleep, sleep, my baby, sleep. Down in the valley and chasm so low, when will the sparrows return to their home? Sleep, sleep, my baby, sleep. sleep down in the valley and chasm so low. When will the sparrows return to their home? Sleep, sleep, my baby, sleep.
Wow, that was, I hope you got the chills like I did. That song, actually, I've had to hear that song a lot. Writing it and working with the composer, but then hearing Bonnie sing that song in the trailer, just amazing. It's amazing. So I hope you got the feel there that through that trailer, part of the gameplay is you're going to be one of these champions, and sometimes you're going to fight each other, and sometimes you're going to have to fight these big bad uglies. And so that is the crux of the game. You're going to be going back and forth, fighting each other, fighting monsters. It's a pretty amazing game. I can't wait to show you the pledge levels and all the stuff that gets revealed and the narrative. Oh, working with Ari Marmel. He's writing a novel. I don't even know if this has ever been done before. A board game and a novel all through a Kickstarter all at once. So we've got an email sign up that you can go to for the notification of the Kickstarter. So we're going to throw that up in chat. We're going to throw that up on the screen, and you can go there and get signed up and be notified. We've also got a really cool giveaway that we're doing with some custom D20s that are going to have the Bloodstone inside the D20. It's really freaking cool. So I hope you get a chance to sign up for that, and we won't spam you much, just mostly like 17 to 20 times a day with relevant things about tabletop. That's all. Or maybe just one time for the campaign. Next up, we've been talking about Pebble Rock delivery service. Oh, look, I got that guy right here. Look at this little cutie. Oh, this is a little bit too big for a stocking stuffer, but sure. Pebble Rock delivery service is a really cool game where it's family weight. You'll be running around this island, picking up deliveries and dropping them off to score points. It plays in about 30 to 45 minutes. You roll the dice, you get to move. You've got all these cool little characters that are in the game, and you're going to specifically get to like deck out your boat the way you want with extra equipment and extra special powers. And you're just going to be running around doing your best to score the points in Pebble Rock. And everything is incredibly cute. The release date is in January 27th, I believe. But we actually have pre-orders that are shipping. It'll be a little bit before that, but it will be after the holidays. So if you want to get this for somebody, maybe you print it off and stick it in the stocking stuffer and say, this will be like 2 weeks after Christmas. You get this, but they do ship out before our retail date. So that is one of the big advantages of picking that up now. I've actually got a really cool promo video to show you a little bit about the world and the characters that are in it. So check this out right now.
Ho there, sailor. Welcome to Pebble Rock. Pebble Rock Delivery Service is a pickup and delivery game for gamers and their families. Play as one of 4 colorful captains and deliver much-needed cargo to adorable characters all over the map. Plan your routes well, manage your cargo carefully, and watch out! A hungry shark and a band of pirates has taken up in these waters and are always looking for unsuspecting delivery boats. The game is simple enough to play with junior ship captains and packed with enough interesting choices to keep even the most grizzled sea dogs entertained. So grab your crew and set sail to your local game store January 27th. Yarg.
I don't know about y'all, but that was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I love those characters. I love that voice. Great job, Dan Stong. It was an amazing little trailer that shows you a little bit about what's going on in the world of Pebble Rock. It's only $25. Like, I don't know if you can't feel it, but it's heavy. It's hefty. It's got a lot of goodies in there. You got really cool dice. I got those like handy because who doesn't like a good dice? You get to chunk some dice. It's a great game. $25. Go do the thing. This is one that we're really excited about, friends. Tidal Blades was our huge Kickstarter from a couple years ago. It's actually delivered to all of our backers currently, and we're waiting for our January retail release. But we're actually shipping pre-orders from our web store right now while supplies last. I will tell you that we do have a limited number of these because we had business side of things went out. We don't have that many. So if you want to get one, I would say do it now. We're already started a second print run. It's that big in demand. We're stoked. We're stoked. But if you see, the world is just gorgeous. Let me see if I can turn it where you get the glare out. There we go. The world is absolutely gorgeous. All the characters are gorgeous. This is not a family weight game, just a heads up. So if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I want a simple 30-minute game, this ain't it. Okay. This is more of like an hour to an hour and a half type of game. And so make sure you're in for the long haul on that one. But that is up on the website right now. You can get that sent to you now. So go do that. Click. Do. Next up on that is Val and Villainy. This is going to have a February retail release date. This also was a Kickstarter for us about 18 months ago. Currently delivering. We've already delivered to one half of the world. US and Canada is in process as we speak. So people are getting this game. They're really, really excited about it. This is super tongue-in-cheek, good time D&D vibes on your tabletop. Now, it's not an RPG game. It is a full-on tabletop adventure game where somebody plays Mordak, the big bad, and then everyone else, let me make sure I'm getting you in frame, everybody else is teaming up to take down Mordak. So you're going around to these different tiles, and you're trying to flip over and find his shrines and pull him back from the darkness and then fight him on the board. So if you're big into like screwing up all of your friends' fun times, that's who you play. You play Mordak, and you mess up everybody's plans. If you like working with your friends to defeat the big bad ugly, this is who you play. You play the heroes. Chunking lots of dice. You get to do these fully up. What really makes it RPG fun is you can see these little these character boards. You get to kind of build out your character the way that you want, and you get to use all these cool powers. It plays in about 60 minutes. So this one is a nice right in between. It's not really necessarily family, but you could play it with kids. I would say 8 and up probably is about the right age. But it's gonna be fun for all ages. So that is Valor and Villainy, Minions of Mordak. All right, next up on the list, and this is the one if you're here because you're a bad, you were on the naughty list. Okay, let's just talk about it. You know, you're probably not getting anything that you don't buy for yourself. You're getting coal from Santa, but Tabletop James Santa Claus will let you buy a little trial by trolley rated R modifiers and tracks expansions for your trial by trolley game. If you're unfamiliar, we worked with Cyanide Happiness a couple years ago. We did a Kickstarter for this game called Trial by Trolley. It's this ridiculous party game where someone is the trolley operator. The trolley has no brakes. 2 teams set up 2 tracks, and they're trying not to get the trolley to run over their track. And so you've got to decide as the trolley operator, look, one of these tracks has got to go because I can't stop this trolley. Who's going to get it? Right? Well, we just ramped this up a little bit with the rated R deck. These cards are awful. They're terrible. If you want these decks, I know you're on the naughty list. I know it because these are bad, but they're just now becoming available. We actually announced them like last week. They instantly sold out the inventory we had on Amazon. We still have them on the web store. You can go grab them. They're $15 a piece. So $30 for both. But we got the 30% off going on right now. So go grab them. You're getting a good deal. Get them. Now, these are stocking stuffers, y'all. Boom. And we are shipping these right meow. So rated R. Can I show you one of these? I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can pull one of these out of this box that won't get me like kicked off the internet. Oh, no, that one's bad. Nope. That one's bad. I'm going to find one. Okay. Here is. It's a clown that turns people into balloon animals. Oh God. Here is a corrupt megachurch pastor. Guys, I'm showing you the ones I can. Wow. I can't. That was the lamest and the most tame ones I could find. So sorry if you really wanted to see something juicy. You're just gonna have to order it. I can't. that's gonna, especially these modifiers, because they're done by Tram Sam, and he doesn't play. He actually is voiced by I always get his last name wrong, but it's he did Vegeta from the animated stuff, the animes. So he's awesome. What else is important right now for y'all? Let's see here. Oh, okay. So you're gonna have to cut this back a little bit. So in pulling all that together, we've got this series that's the Cyanide and Happiness team, Rob, Brett, Heather, all the awesome folks over there at CNH. They actually put together a new series around Trolley Tom. So here's what happened. Santa Claus kind of got on the tracks last year during the Kickstarter and kind of got run over by the trolley. So he's dead. And because of the law of Tim Allen Santa Claus, Trolley Tom has been dabbed. God has come down and gave him the old taparoo. He's got to run Christmas this year. So we've got episode 3 of the new series, Jolly Tom, because he's got to be Santa Claus. So there's some choices that's got to be made, and we want to share that with y'all. So come check this out right now.
Hello, ho, ho, Jolly Tom here. The last time we spoke, I was busy wrapping presents while the children all scampered about hanging ornaments and stockings, and the adults sang carol after carol, downing glass after glass of delicious wassail. What's wassail, you ask? Oh, it's a lovely holiday spiced fruit punch that exists, much like eggnog, only to conceal the smell of liquor in one's cup. Except none of that shit happened! Instead, God sent a thirst trap for old Tom by putting 8 maids of milking on the left side of my sleigh tracks and 10 lords of leaping on the right! This isn't the Christmas I wanted! Making extremely horny life or death decisions? That's why I turned it over to you, my Feliz Navi dudes and dudettes, to decide for me. I read all of your comments, and the majority of you said the Milky Maids were good this year. It's hard to argue with that logic. Just look at all their goodness, all swollen and undulating with goodness. Oh my goodness! Tom needs to stick his head and probably his butt and also balls in the snow to cool off. Huh. Okay. Here's your Trial by Trolley R-rated expansion pack, you giggly jiggly tiggle bitty pretties. Huh. That can mean only one thing for the naughty leapin' laddies. It seems such a waste to lose 10 fancy fellas who are so gifted below the waist. Because of their legs! Their leaping ability comes from the legs, not their hulking python dongs. If anything, that's an impediment to their leaping ability. Unless, of course, they use it for balance like a cat. Oh, geez, oh fuck, Tom's in trouble. Better just... much better. The temptation has been pureed into prancing paste. My dearest mistletoe tubbly bubblins, it's entirely possible that old Tom is desperate for companionship. Perhaps Santa will bring me love this year, like in one of those Hallmark movies where a stressed-out, overworked trolley driver moves to a small town and meets a pastry chef who's about to lose their bakery, and the trolley driver makes the town remember the spirit of Christmas by giving card games to the townsfolk. And also running some of them over with his trolley, and then he and the baker fall in love, and he moves there, and then also there's a grandma who's a ghost, and Christmas is saved! It would be called something like Home for the Trolley Days. Except, of course, I'm Santa, and there's nothing in my sack but delightful and affordable R-rated expansion packs for Trial by Trolley. 100 new track cards and 100 new modifier cards. I guess love will have to wait for old Tom. Well, I should see who's next on my list. On the left, I have an innocent little gamer boy whose only Christmas wish is for a PS5. And on the right, I see it's a different little gamer boy child who asked Santa for an Xbox Series X, not knowing that Santa was dead. You know, I thought I understood the theme of these choices, but now I can't tell if it's about Christmas or the pandemic or capitalism or what. Anywho, I don't suppose any of my YouTube commenters have strong opinions about which game system is superior and which child deserves to get their Christmas wish. But I ask that you reach deep down and try to conjure some video game opinions to make old Tom's job easier and one child's Christmas cheerier. Vote left or right in the comments, naughty or nice, and be sure to tell me why. I mean, do we even know if these kids have the proper 4K TV resolution and high refresh rate to take advantage of these next-gen consoles? What do I know? I've never even played a video game. I just spend a lot of time sitting in the dark thinking about Italian brothers who might co-own a family plumbing business. Sometimes I crawl down into the sewer pipes, eat strange fungus, and punch turtles. Other times I run frantically through hallways eating pills and chasing ghosts. I also like to shoot Nazis when I'm able. I consider it a calling, my call of duty. Whatever. Ho ho ho, okay, bye!
Oh, how are you going to pick between those two options? That is gross. Good luck. Let me know in the comments who you're going to pick, and go type that in when you get a chance over on their YouTube channel so your vote can be tabulated. As it's going to get ugly. Poor old Tom, Jolly Tom. He gets some rough choices to kind of go through. But you know, them's the breaks. That's what he signed up for. I don't know that he actually signed up for that. Yeah, I don't think he actually did. But either way, that's what he's got. So that, again, that's the Trial by Trolley rated R expansions. You can go grab those off the web store. I would just recommend that you get one of every one of our games because I think they're excellent. And right now, 30% off is pretty dope. So, you know, if you need some analog board gaming in your life, there you go. Next year, let's talk a quick second about what we've got going on in 2021. We've got a couple of major Kickstarters, like we talked about earlier, what we showed you. Bloodstone, top of the show. Then we've got Valor and Villainy 2. And we haven't revealed a whole lot about this campaign yet. So be on the lookout. Maybe at our next Expo, we'll be able to give you a preview, a video on that one. But it's really, really good. And then it's been a big deal. People have been yelling at me on the internet. Where's Title Blades 2? I want to know more about Title Blades 2. What is this Title Blades RPG business that you're doing with Monty Cook Games? All of that is going to happen next year in probably the third-ish quarter with our next Kickstarter for the Title Blades. So really, really excited about all that. You can also go to all of the whatever your preferred social media outlet, and just give the old search to Skybound Tabletop. Jess and team over there is killing it, doing a great job. You get answers, you can be in the know, you can interact on fun stuff. We like to have fun. Go do the fun stuff. Sign up for our social media, Skybound Tabletop, not Skybound Games. Those are the video game people, okay? They make video games. They're snooty. They think they're better than... that's not true. I'm just kidding. They might think they're better than us. That's fine, and that's fine. But we make analog fun. They make video game fun. So go over there if you like those people. But come to Tabletop. That's where we think the fun's at. This is my final call out. I think I've mentioned it at least once. We have 30% off right now on the store. Go grab some games. Get a video game. Definitely pick up some comics, a couple t-shirts. There's some really dope Title Blades merch right there. Pick out your favorite character. Get that on a t-shirt, a hoodie, a coffee mug. I got some of those. But that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy some tabletop games this holiday season with your family. It's 30% off if I haven't mentioned it before. Go grab them. Thanks, y'all. See you next time. Bye.
And we're back once again. It's old Home Base with Hector. What an awesome panel. Just look at those tabletop games that are going to be available for you right now in the Skybound store. I mean, there are so many family favorites and not appropriate for families, but you know, you're going to awkwardly play them during the holidays. Favorites. We've all been there. Come on, guys. I'm talking about things like Super Fight and Pitch Storm. These are amazing stocking stuffer gifts. So we're going to throw up that QR code so that you can get taken directly to the games that, like I said, make great stocking stuffers. Wow, look at that. Skybound Tabletop. You've got Trial by Trolley, different expansions, including the scenarios and the conditions and everything, plus Pebble Rock delivery service. And this is really cool. Title Blades, Heroes of Reef, was launched on Kickstarter and is now available on the Skybound store. I mean, there are so many great flavors of tabletop games here. Like I said, family, party, strategy. It's dope. It's awesome. So get in your orders ASAP, just in time for the holidays. So guys, scan that QR code. It's going to take you directly to the Skybound tabletop games that you want to see. So many great flavors. There are so many great gifts. I love getting some awesome tabletop games as gifts for the holidays or for really any time of the year, because it always means like, oh, great, you want to spend some time with me? Let's sit down. Let's play this game. Maybe we've got some hot cocoa with some marshmallows in it. Maybe we've got some, some holiday music playing in the background as we get to a incredibly embarrassing and funny card that now we have to awkwardly make our way through. It's happened to me more than once, and it's going to happen to you this holiday season. You know it. You know it in your heart. All right. Okay. It's enough of the tabletop games. They are awesome. But coming up next, we've got a panel all about video games, y'all. That's right. It is the Skybound Games Winter Celebration. And we've got Woody from the Skybound Games team. He's going to be taking a look at the special editions of Ori and the Will of the Wisps and The Pathless. And this is really, really exciting. He's going to be talking to Austin Wintory, video game composer extraordinaire. And Austin's going to be sharing his top 5 picks for the best video game soundtracks of all time. And Woody is also going to be talking to Moon Studios co-founder Gennady Korol. All of that and more coming up next in this video game panel. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Take it away, Woody.
Hello and welcome, Skybound fans. I'm Woody Tondorf, producer at Skybound Games and sometimes voiceover actor for the Walking Dead YouTube videos. So face reveal, I guess. Anyways, I'm here to talk to you about one of our newest and best titles, The Pathless. The Pathless is a mythical adventure game from Giant Squid and Annapurna Interactive, where you control a character called the Hunter, exploring a gorgeous and mysterious open world with the help of your companion Eagle, who is also gorgeous and mysterious. The game features a very fun movement system that allows you to dash and fly your way through the open world as you work your way up to epic boss fights with massive corrupted spirits. It's an excellent game. It's available on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, as well as Epic Game Store and Apple. But Skybound is making 2 physical editions that you can get retail worldwide, or you can pick it up at the store right now. The Day 1 edition is available, as is the I Am 8-Bit exclusive edition, which is available for pre-order at iam8bit.com. There is special art cards and exclusive box art that you can't get anywhere else. If you're looking to pick up The Pathless, I very much recommend that you go and get one of these 2 copies available for PlayStation 5. There's also a vinyl soundtrack coming in 2021 with music by Grammy-nominated and BAFTA-winning composer Austin Wintory, which is also available for pre-order at im8bit.com. We are lucky enough to have Mr. Wintory today to answer some of our questions, and he joins us now for the Holiday Expo. Austin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So you've worked on some huge titles. I mean, Journey was gigantic and critically acclaimed everywhere. The soundtrack in particular. You've worked on Assassin's Creed Syndicate, the entire Banner saga. You have worked tremendously, and also on Abzu, which was Giant Squid, and now leads on to the Pathless. Well, you're a very humble guy, so I'll do a little bit of bragging for you. So the Journey was the very first video game soundtrack to get nominated for a Grammy. For best score soundtrack for visual media, I think. So you were a pioneer within that, which is incredible. The score is widely celebrated. You've been working ever since, which in and of itself is something to be like praised and held in awe. And so now today, flash forward, you're working on Pathless, but you had worked with Giant Squid before for Abzu. So how did that conversation come around where they were saying, oh, we've got this thing. Do you want to jump into it? Or how did that work?
Well, the common thread in so many careers is always the relationships that you hold and the people that that end up becoming a part of your life. Obviously, I'm very lucky that I do get occasionally people reaching out to me who've I've never met, but they've played maybe Journey or the Banner Saga or something or Assassin's Creed and reach out just kind of cold. But the vast majority of my opportunities are someone, a friend or a friend of a friend. And Giant Squid is no exception. Matt Nava was the art director at that game company and the art director of Flower and of Journey. And especially in the case of Journey, whenever people ask me, what was your main inspiration for that score? I always used to say, well, Matt Nava. I mean, his art on Journey was so instrumental in me figuring out what the music ought to be. Of course, ironically, he was saying to people the reverse. He was saying that the music was a big part of figuring out the art because we were always real time, 3 years of just daily throwing things back and forth. But I think I win that one because he really did. There wouldn't be that music without his work. And so when Journey shipped and he left that game company to go found Giant Squid and become its creative director, I'm very lucky that I was one of the first calls that he made to say, can I tell you about this thing I want to do with this new venture I'm starting? And he showed me the original concept art that he had made for Abzu. And we're both scuba divers. And so we kind of bonded over that as well and talked just about, what would be the sound of this? In what ways is it similar to Journey? In what ways is it different? What defines Giant Squid as a studio separate from any other studio? And Matt as a creative director versus an art director and all of that. And so we just spent 3 years having a blast on Abzu. I mean, I say that glossing over, it was actually a really difficult period of my life, and it was not an easy game to ship, completely unrelated to Giant Squid, though. So it was one of those very cathartic when it came out, and then he said, okay, now let's take a look at the next one, and that ended up being the Pathless, which was, I was immediately entranced because it was so much more ambitious than Abzu. It was one of those, it was like, okay, we've kind of gotten our feet on the ground and built a studio, helped really kind of understand the production process and really, ironed out some inefficiencies that were discovered in Abzu, as all studios discover.
Sure.
And okay, now let's make something that's just gargantuanly larger. I mean, the ironic thing is that my music for the Pathless is, through certain lenses, it's the biggest score I've ever written. I remember after finishing it and I was writing like liner notes for the album and stuff, I went tabulated and I realized there's 104 musicians who performed on that score, which is, that's even on a big orchestral score like the Banner Saga. That's still like twice as many musicians. Of course, Banner Saga has its own unique reasons why that's true for, but it was still 104 musicians and most of those are solidly half of those are all like individual soloists that recorded, one-on-one over the period of these 3.5 years. So wow. it was really ambitious musically, not just the game. And as always, Giant Squid is just, they're an amazing team. They work so well together and everybody really like sitting in on their team meetings, for example, where everybody's giving feedback to everybody else and talking about what they've done and offering advice on, oh, hey, I just finished this thing, and maybe with this or what. Everybody's trying to make each other the best that they can be.
Yeah.
And every game studio aspires to that, but they really seem to have gotten into a groove. It's so inspiring to see and be part of.
So when you're in those calls and everything, they're like, okay, Austin, tell us where we're at with this thing. So like, how do you, as you go through the process of creating this work with 104 people, how are you explaining like the vision as you go through it? And how does it, for example, like if you could try to explain, like where was the nucleus of the idea at the beginning compared to where you were at the end? Did it change a lot, or did you stay on target? How did it work?
It changed a fair bit, although the true nucleus, to steal your word, actually was pretty consistent throughout. Like I wrote a theme, I wrote a kind of central melody that now on the album we call None Have Returned, but at the time it was just, theme. That never changed. That I wrote that at the very beginning, and even the notion of I'd like to feature, a few folk instruments and make the orchestra, if there even is an orchestra, maybe it's sort of a secondary figure. So an emphasis on percussion, where you record with the mic right up with them, and it doesn't feel like a big orchestral landscape, but it's like you're in a room with some drummers kind of thing. And similarly, like the Swedish nyckelharpa is an instrument I was just in love with and really wanted to feature. And then above all, these tuban throat singers, this group, the Alash Ensemble, I had already been in contact with them and really was trying to figure out how to incorporate them into this game. And so in my initial just sort of proof of concept music that I played for them, I just took some albums of the Alash Ensemble and just kind of, placed some of their tracks and then like wrote music over top of it, just to be like, just imagine, an orchestra or these folk instruments like the nyckelharpa and the oud and whatever around these throat singers. And it was a very crude demonstration of that, because
Sure.
I'm taking like finished pieces and just like stapling new music on top of it. But I didn't have a good other way to kind of communicate the idea. So then about a year later, I'd written a bunch of sketches, but I more or less threw it all out. A year later, I went into the studio with these musicians, these throat singers, the Alash Ensemble, and we jammed for a day, literally just like hit record and didn't stop for 6 hours.
Wow.
And where I was playing piano, but on a digital piano that they could hear in their headphones, but wasn't being recorded in the room. So all we recorded was their playing, but in a dialogue with me, where I had like little fragments of music in my head already, more or less kind of sorted out for the game. So I could play things and they would sort of internalize what I'm playing and then sort of riff on it and then take it new places. And then I'd riff with wherever they've taken it. And it was just like this free form thing of slow music and medium and fast and thick, where everybody's giving it everything they've got, and then very quiet. And then, one at a time, and just like every conceivable permutation of the three musicians, each of whom plays an instrument and also sings. And so just ended up with this massive treasure trove, and then started to kind of redo the score, where I would start most every piece with some foundation of, okay, here's this long passage of the three of them throat singing together. And there's all these different techniques, specific techniques of tuban throat singing, where they're combining different colors and then adding on top of that, or, just going and on from there. So, in terms of the actual question, the process, I would create what are called mock-ups, where using my computer and a bunch of digital placeholders for the instruments, where, it sounds like drums. It sounds like, even specifically like that sounds like the nyckelharpa, but it's a fake one. It's not a real one.
Sure. Everybody, any discerning ear can tell the difference between an authentic and a electronic nyckelharpa.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. Some of them are really heinously ugly and awful, and some of them are actually reasonably realistic sounding. And there's even some instruments in the score that I never re-recorded. I kept the digital version because it ended up becoming such a specific sound.
Sure.
That I manipulated. I fussed with it in my mix and kind of tweaked it and customized it and got it to a place where I was like, that it now just is the sound I want. But it was still obviously layering huge numbers of musicians on top of that. And so, yeah, it's a long and iterative process, not to mention that the game is also being iterated on. So a lot of times I would write a piece and then they would change how that portion of the game works, or they'd cut things entirely, or they'd add things that weren't there before. And
Yeah.
so I'm always kind of dancing to keep up with them and make sure that the music isn't scoring something other than the actual game the players will have in their hands when it comes out.
So we were talking earlier about, how the medium and video games have changed. And before we had this interview, I sent you a message asking, what would be your top 5 video game soundtracks? And the list that you sent me is fantastic, and a lot of things that I hadn't yet thought about. So I was wondering if we could just briefly go through your top 5.
Yeah, I always love opportunities to sort of proclaim the brilliance of my colleagues and friends. That's one of the things I love best about working in games, is that when I look laterally, left and right at the people that I stand amongst, I'm like, there are some incredibly talented people that make me better just by being around, because I learn from what they make, and and it makes me excited to get in this chair. This is where I write music all days, and being in this chair because of their work is something I experience on a daily basis. So it's very difficult to narrow it down, and there are a million omissions, as you would expect. But I thought the ones that really sort of cataclysmically affected me, I thought I would try to list off.
Let's do it. The internet loves a list. Let's get the chat angry. Let's just, here it is, the definitive top 5 video game soundtracks, ironclad. This is it. There is nothing else. If your game's not in it, guess what? It sucks.
Right. It's an exclusive list that, the 6th on down are garbage. Well, so the first one was Jason Graves scored at Dead Space. He won a BAFTA for that. He won a bunch of Game Audio Network Guild Awards and honors for it, and innumerable others. I had never met him yet when that score came out. He has since become one of my dearest friends. We worked together on The Order 1886, and hopefully we'll work together again. I've hung out with his family. He has like farm animals, and he's just so unlike anyone that I know, and he's a really, really talented drummer and composer. And so I remember, though, when Dead Space came out, and everyone was like, oh, it's such a great game, horror shooter done amazingly, it's so scary and visceral and la la la, great. But then I'm reading, being a composer, always interested in the business, I'm reading an interview with him, and I'd never heard of him before. And I'm reading, and he writes something like, in this interview, that the music was they wanted something so like intense and raw and horrific that he had to develop ideas to write for the orchestra that there was no way to make a mock-up for, where we use the computer to kind of simulate the sound of it. You can do quite a lot. And he made this comment like, it wasn't possible to do mock-ups. I had to write it by hand and then just tell the studio and tell EA or whoever, we have to just go record the orchestra. You just have to trust me. I cannot play you anything until we record. And I remember I read that and I rolled my eyes. I was like, who does he think? I was like, I don't know if he realizes you can mock up quite a lot. And I just thought, what foolish shit cocky guy is out there saying, oh, my music is so genius. It had to be written by hand and performed because, it was just like, it was in touch with the essence of the vibrating strings that is music itself. And then I went and listened to Dead Space, and I was like, holy shit, you could never mock this up. I was blown away. I was like, this is a guy who really knows what he's doing. I was in such awe. And to this day, it's still like, if you want to just go for it, if you want horror that is just uncompromisingly vicious, to me, I would be hard pressed to name any score that really even comes close in terms of just carnage. The second one I put is basically the diametric opposite musically, which is another dear friend, really, really close. She's like my composer soulmate, and she called herself the other day my composer spirit animal, with that fully embrace, which is Jessica Curry's score to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Great one.
And she won a BAFTA first, both positively and sort of bizarrely, the first woman to ever win a BAFTA for a video game score.
Really?
With that score. It's one of those where it's like, I'm thrilled she gets to have that feather in her cap, but it's like, there've been plenty of, women around for a long time. It was surprising that that took that long, but it was still thrilled for her. We were nominated against each other, and I remember thinking, if I win, I'm going to be so pissed. But I didn't realistically think I was going to win because her score was just the defining score of that year.
What's number 3?
Number 3, a game I already alluded to. Gary Scheinman scored a BioShock, and I put it on the list for similar reasons. But I'll never forget that this was the first time I ever played a shooter. A lot of this is, of course, owed to Ken Levine's writing, but it was the first time I ever played a shooter where I found myself feeling bad for the people as I killed them.
Yeah.
Because they were all these sort of hysterical victims of almost like a just perverse science experiment. And I thought that the sort of gothic tragedy of the score understood that so well. And it was also one of the games that I remember being really impressed, embraced silence. Like, you don't actually need music in every second of the game. And there were a lot of periods of just running around Rapture where there'd be no score, or there'd be like the jukebox playing the 30s and 40s kind of pop tunes, which was the audio director, Emily Ridgway. That was, one of her ideas, I believe, if I remember correctly, of going and licensing these tunes. And that was also such a big part of the experience. But yeah, the other aspect of it is that welcome to Rapture moment at the beginning where the bathysphere first descends and you have this true welcome into the game that Gary offers. That's this scorching violinso, though. He got the concertmaster of the LA Phil, Martin Schilfier, to play. They recorded all of the score at Capitol Records in Hollywood. And it was just like, again, it was class, but it was the dark side of class. Like it was this beautiful, like vampire class. And I just was so enamored. Like I said, I was working on Flow when he was writing that. And it made me feel like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Cause look at what he's doing. And it just, and Gary has since become a very dear friend. I hung out at the sessions a couple years after that for BioShock 2 when he was recording, and it's someone I feel very privileged to call a colleague because he really, again, he raised the bar.
Your number 2, I was surprised because I hadn't really paid attention to the soundtrack, and then I was like, oh yeah, no, this is the truth. But I'll just take it.
Those you mean?
Sorry.
Number 2, like Jessica's, or what I'm about to say?
What you're about to say. This.
I realized in my list I said the right composer but the wrong title. So I myself. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But what I meant to write was Transistor. When Bastion first came out, it was like, God, this is such a breath of fresh air. But then Transistor raised the bar in every conceivable way from it. It was like the songs that he wrote for that I was like, these are going to be forever remembered as some of the best songs have ever been written for video games. In the same way that we hold up, John Barry's Goldfinger performed by Shirley Bassey, or, like think of Somewhere Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz. Like the film industry has created some songs that will forever outlive even the films.
Yeah, you've got a friend in me, Toy Story. Like,
oh God, Randy Newman, what an example! I still think that his song that he wrote, that Sarah McLachlan performed for Toy Story 2, is for me one of the best songs ever written for a movie. But You've Got a Friend in Me is undeniably iconic and perfect.
Hot movie takes though. That's.
I'm happen to also be a big Randy Newman fan, but but yeah, that's the thing. Like, to me, Darren's songs, whether it's The Spine or Never to Return, or We All Become, like and the score, he outdid himself.
All right, number 1. Here it is. This Top of the Mountain.
Yeah, well, and I already mentioned it, but I would be remiss to not include Peter McConnell's truly magnificent score to Grim Fandango. I often say that it's probably my favorite game ever made and probably my favorite game score. And it was one of the first games I ever played where the majority of the music was recorded by live musicians. It was 1997, I think, 97, 98.
Yeah.
And recording live musicians was really rare. It was only in the few years prior to that it was even technologically possible. And it was not, most games didn't budget for that because they were like, we've been doing fine for 20 years relying on the beeps of the hardware. Why would we suddenly spend all this extra money?
Sure.
But Grim Fandango was a whole other level. You know, it was this incredible voice cast and, you know, amazing Tim Schafer writing and just the world design and the imaginative way that they smashed together film noir and this Mexican Dia de los Muertos sensibility. And the score does the same. You know, the music is like these raunchy saxophone solos that open up into mariachi trumpet and this gorgeous tango from Manny and Meche. And that was one of those when I played that game and when you go as Manuel Calavera and you open up the little sack that Meche arrives in the land of the dead within, and she looks at Manny and says, "You're not the nurse." And he says, "No, but I am here to ease your pain." And then she pauses and we hear the guitar go bum bum ba ba da na 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 na, and she says, "I guess they couldn't save me, huh?" I was like, I get goosebumps just saying it. I was like, this games are not, this is not a childish genre, the medium. Yeah. This is, we can tell stories that are real and authentic and all firing on all cylinders with great writing, great acting and great score. So yeah, that game for me was just forever. I know that it's kind of folded into a childhood nostalgia, but I think it holds up. And the fact that, you know, when they remastered it and threw it out on PlayStation, it did gangbusters, I think shows that it's not just nostalgia. It is a transcendently great game and a truly magnificent, perfect score.
There it is. Number one, Grim Fandango. Everyone else, you know, you're running for second, but that's
hack it in. Yeah,
I take it. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, you go and take a journey through those different game soundtracks. They're all excellent. Learn something about it. And if you want to, you know, start a conversation, you know, just let him know that you're friends with Austin, and then he's friends with all those other people. So there you are. We're nearing the end of this, and thank you so much for coming aboard. And we've taken a fun trip through video game music. We are trying to sell copies of The Pathless, of which you are the composer. And so just to bring it back home to The Pathless, which is out on PlayStation 4 and PS5, and you can pick up the retail editions on our Skybound store and at worldwide retailers and im8bit.com. Seamless. Austin, if you were to explain The Pathless to the tens of people who are watching right now, how would you describe The Pathless?
I call it's an adventure game that takes the form of a playable myth. It is when you look at the stars and you see the constellations and someone tells you, you know, that's Orion, and here's the story of how Orion found himself amongst the stars. The kind of archetypal, almost magical stories that are general enough that they could be kind of timelessly from anywhere, and yet specific enough that it's like, that is that character. That's The Pathless. It is a story of archetypes that has its specifics, but it also is broad and general. And so it can be both, you know, rollicking, fun, high energetic adventure game with boss battles and the rest, but it's also very inward and introspective and meditative in its own way as well. And I never have played a game quite like it that blends those two effectively in that way. And it just struck me while working on it that it was inherently mythological. Someone made a game out of a few sentences of a story you might tell around a campfire.
Yeah. And
tried to make sure that the score was reflective of that.
Well, if it's anything like your previous work, it's going to be an emotional journey, and people are going to be caught up in it, and will be another feather in the cap and another illustrious title to the career of Austin Wintory. So, Austin, thank you so much for coming aboard and being part of the Skybound Holiday Expo. We are beyond honored to be able to sell copies of the game, and everybody make sure that when 2021 comes out, you're picking up that vinyl soundtrack. It is a handsome art, but even better music inside. So,
Well, you are very kind. Thanks for having me.
and in case people want to see the throat singing jam session, Austin, where can the people find you on YouTube?
My YouTube channel is just, if you just type my name in, hopefully, theoretically, should be the first hit that comes up in terms of channels. It's just Austin Wintery. I think the actual username is A Wintery, which is basically where I am on all social media, on Twitter and whatnot. And yeah, we've been putting a lot of behind the scenes. I've got footage from, recording the orchestral elements at Abbey Road, the throat singers, all the different soloists, and made a fun video called How to Write 1 Minute of Music, where I documented 60 seconds of music from the path list from the blank page all the way to what it takes to get it in the game, as to see all the different performers and the technical work that we do and the scripting on the game side of it and the recording sessions. And that's been very well received too, I'm happy to say, and it's fun to put together. So it's all waiting for you if you go check it out.
Go check that out. Don't miss out on that content. You owe it to yourselves to go and get it this holiday season. Go get that free entertainment. Go learn something, and you know what? Maybe feel some things as you go through it. Austin, thank you so much. Really appreciate having you on board. And anytime you want to come back to one of these expos or come by and just talk about the journey.
It would be my pleasure, and we'll see if we can find more ways to say the word journey next time.
Expedition. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been saying voyage for the last 8 years, and it's very inorganic and clearly obvious that I'm trying to make a pun. It's just, it's no good.
I didn't even know I was doing it. Turns out that's the kind of professionalism you get from me. But
yeah, I love it. It's perfect.
Thanks again, Austin. All right, and now we're on to the next thing. Hey, Skybound Games fans. Today we are joined by Gennady Karol, from co-founder of Moon Studios and several other very impressive technical titles. But I thought co-founder of Moon Studios is probably the most badass, so I just wanted to lead with that. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for the Holiday Expo.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And as always, all of this is a very wonderful casual conversation between us, but also to let all the fans know that you can pick up the Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Blind Forest physical editions for Nintendo Switch now at ori.im8bit.com. We also have a gorgeous collector's edition that's also available at the site. You owe it to yourself to check it out. It is the first time that I saw the video for it, like my jaw dropped. It is a work of art and really celebrates the entire franchise as well as
it's great.
It's so cool, and that like stained glass art piece is just like, oh my god. And then we also have the digital editions that you can get in the Nintendo eShop. And all of these are available again at ori.im8bit.com. Go and check them out. And so when we spoke earlier, I'd let you know that we maybe unwisely went to the denizens of the internet, and specifically the Ori subreddit. And we asked them for some questions. And shockingly, this is the one positive subreddit I have ever seen in video games. There were some really great questions in there. So first and foremost, the big one that I wanted to ask from the fans is, How did you come to be the co-founder of Moon Studios? And as Moon Studios got started, how did you guys land with the idea for Ori and the franchise?
That is going way back. So let me give you maybe a little bit of a backstory here. So imagine around 2009, 2010-ish, that kind of time frame. Thomas, the other co-founder and my partner, he was at Blizzard at the time, and I was working on feature films. I was working on a feature film animation at a sort of film studio. But games was always our passion. We always loved video games. I mean, we grew up playing those games, and Thomas was somebody I knew from sort of the online forums since a very long time. I've been building tools for artists. For Autodesk Maya, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but this is where people do animations and things like that. And Thomas was one of the best modelers around at that point in time, best 3D sculptors, basically. And I had this tool that we collaborated on. And he was part of that community, a private community that I had. And at some point, we were kind of bored, and Thomas was like, "Hey, I'm gonna dabble making games." He sent me this engine. It was, I think, Construct back in the day. It was one of those simple video game engines. I dabbled with that. It was fun. And at some point, we brought sort of Unity. And we were like, hey, if we want to do this properly, Unity seems to be the way to go. It's super open. It's cool for small studios like we would be. And we built this prototype called Warsup. It's a real-time strategy first-person shooter mix. You can find the video still. I think it's like somewhere in 2010 we released that video to the world. We got like 120,000 views over a few nights. It really picked up, and we went sort of into this publisher hunt. We were like, look, this seems to be cool. People seem to like it. We are onto something here. We built this prototype. We picked up a few people along the way. So we were maybe like 5 or 6 people by that point in time. And then the problem happened, which is this deal thing takes a long time. If you want to go ahead and sort of get the publisher to do the sausage making process, if you will, to sign a project, that is like, we didn't know that it would be like 9 months. And we just couldn't sit and twiddle our thumbs and do nothing for all of that time. And that was a time where Braid, Super Meat Boy, sort of this indie renaissance came about. And, Xbox Live Arcade was a big thing. And we thought, hey, let's dabble with something else. So we built this really small sort of platforming demo. And the idea was to sort of match or even improve on Super Meat Boy sort of platforming. And we kind of liked it. It turned into a small sort of, there was also we were really inspired by Princess Mononoke at that point in time. So this is why we had a little spirit. And we said, there's going to be a little spirit that can jump around. Let's try and build that. So we built it, and we thought, hey, we can probably finish it in 6 months. And then we'll get some experience, and let's pitch this game instead to Microsoft and the other publishers instead of this multiplayer bonanza. And we decided to go for it. And long story short, it didn't take 6 months. It took 4 years. And that project became Ori and the Blind Forest.
That's incredible. And once you go through that process, you kind of like look at other games. You're like, it's a miracle that any video game ever reaches shelves, like ever.
That's what I always think when I'm close to shipping. I'm like, I need a miracle, and thankfully it happens.
And you guys do it differently than a lot of other people. And this goes into our second question. You're a fully remote studio, Moon Studios. So how has that worked out for you? How did the decision get made to do that? And have you run into any sort of like hiccups, or how does that inform how you work together as a team?
This is quite a big topic, but in general, for us, it was super organic from day one. We always collaborated over internet. This is how we grew up. We were kind of that generation, if you will. And we were kind of rebels. This is why Thomas and I started the studio. We wanted to do things differently than other big studios, and we wanted to make a difference. And in Microsoft's sort of defense, it's really cool that they allowed us to try this out, because here's this unknown studio. Sure, they made a cool demo, maybe even 2 cool demos of different video games. Maybe they have some potential. But by the way, they're also remote. And there's no remote video game studios around 2010, or at least I haven't heard of many of them. Maybe there were some, but we always thought of ourselves as almost like pioneers of that, and sort of being able to try something new. And I would say it's kind of like one thing leads to another approach, where you start with a small team, you try a few different online tools, you try how you're going to collaborate in files, how are you going to have meetings, how you're going to get, things done really. And we kind of evolved this process, or this almost like working environment that we had over the last 10 years, to perfect it, to really build a remote operation. We were almost 70 people at the peak. We worked on 2 projects towards the end of Will of the Wisps, our next game, and also shipping Will of the Wisps. So we were able to scale that operation. It is not trivial, but I do believe it's next gen way of working. I do not think any of us want to go back to the office environment, spend time in commute, have all of those distractions. We like this organic, flexible sort of way of managing our time, integrating work into our lives, and just the efficiency of it. I think we all feel super productive, and so far it looks like the games don't, completely. They're not terrible games, so it looks like it's also working in some ways. So we're pretty happy with where that landed.
Now you're sitting at a 93 on Metacritic for Nintendo Switch right now. You're the highest rated title for the year. So clearly you're doing something correct. And I also don't think enough people talk about like the technical miracle that it was to get Ori and the Will of the Wisps onto Nintendo Switch in the same year that you guys put it on Xbox at full fidelity and running at 60 frames a second.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. And not a lot of people, I think, really give you guys the credit for that. And the fact that you do it remote. Like, have you considered just like selling your workflow to people, or like having some sort of TED talk with like, here's how Moon Studios works, and just like making millions of dollars off everybody who's now remote, being like, how did they do it? Like they made a game. This is wild.
Yeah, I think we would be very open to share how we do this, just because we want to give back to the community and kind of inspire other people maybe to do what we've been doing. I doubt it's going to be the best business model. Maybe millions of dollars is not going to be in the in the cards for us with that. But I definitely, if there is SIGGRAPH or any of those conventions with video games again, GDC or whatever, with COVID, nobody knows, right? Like how things are going to go. But maybe a remote version of that. Yeah, I think we're kind of very secretive, and this is actually pretty awesome because we finally have these interviews and we kind of talk to the world, and we don't do much of that. We kind of are very heads down, usually kind of go back into our cave and make things happen and build the game. But that's a good idea. I think we should share more for sure.
No, you've distilled this model from the last 10 years into something that is, just the idealized version of it. I have not seen my fellow Skybound Games employees and colleagues over the last year. Like, I have literally had no human contact with them. And I gotta tell you, it's weird and strange, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but we're seeing it through. So like, if you ever want to come by and do a webinar for the Skybound Games folks, we would love to learn a thing or two from you guys.
Sure. I'll happy to do that. Just have me on. I'll come over. Everybody
in the internet has heard it now. It is there was no fee talked about. That's a verbal commitment and a contract. So this is happening. Gennady, thank you so much for coming by. It's a real quick interview, but we'd like to send you a few more interview questions and see if you want to answer those and put them on social, because people have some pretty good ones. And I think you have so much great insight. And again, you have made an incredible product that has touched a lot of lives, and a lot of people are just so impressed with it. So pick up Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps on Nintendo Switch. Also on Xbox, it's also running spectacularly on there. You can get the collector's edition for Xbox or Nintendo Switch right now. You can get the retail versions at any physical store, if you dare, anywhere worldwide, or at ori.im8bit.com if you would like to follow societal norms. I'm sure I'm going to get flack for that. But anyways, Gennady, thank you so much. And please tell us where we can find you guys on the internet.
You're welcome to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Moon Game Studios, myself, the Gennady on Twitter. You guys can follow us there. And we're looking forward to you guys playing the game and letting us know how you like it. Hopefully you do.
It's a great game. Check it out. You owe it to yourselves. It's awesome. All right. The Holiday Expo rolls on. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
And we're back once again. Home base, Hector. What an awesome panel. I would not have expected to hear about the game Grim Fandango's a #1 soundtrack pick. That was awesome. That was a great pick. Austin. I think I would have gone with my #1 is probably, it's always going to be Donkey Kong Country. Those jams still bop. They're, as the kids say, I can't pull that off. I don't know, but they're good. It's good music. And I still really enjoy it. Donkey Kong Country, my #1 video game soundtrack. So speaking of those video games, guys, that was a rad panel, and we got to take a look at some awesome games But what's really exciting is the collaboration between Skybound and I Am 8-Bit. I am stoked about what's coming down the pipeline because they've got a bunch of stuff planned for 2021. But for right now, you don't want to miss these games. The Pathless, Ori. You can check out these games and more over at store.skybound.com, as well as you can go to pathless.im8bit.com or ori.im8bit.com. And like I said, this is just beginning. Look at that beautiful PS5 box as well. Ooh, listen, I'm a Nintendo guy through and through. I just mentioned Donkey Kong Country, but I always like to look at those new boxes for the shiny new toy. All right, PS5. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so huge thanks to everybody who was just on that panel. It is always exciting to be able to get to hear behind the scenes for the favorite games that we have and the people that get to make them. So that was fantastic. Coming up next is another one of my favorite art forms of all time. I'm talking about comic books, y'all. The reason we're all here, the thing that started it all, with Skybound Entertainment. We are looking at the comics coming up with a panel hosted by a future version of me, and I get to talk to the VP of editorial, Mr. Sean Makowitz, the real big cheese, the guy in charge of everything. And we're looking back at everything that happened in 2020 for Skybound, as well as maybe some sneaky peekies for what's coming around the corner in 2021, including my new favorite comic that is being announced today, and it is incredibly exciting. And let me tell you, it blew my mind. It is fantastic. So stay tuned. Coming up for the Skybound Comics panel hosted by yours truly with Mr. Sean Makowitz. So don't miss it. Take it away, other version of me. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for talking to us, man. We really, really appreciate it. Just want to let you know, if you have an adorable child that comes into your background at some point, we're not going to be mad. So we really appreciate you taking the time. First question, Sean, is that your quarantine hair? It looks really good.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Definitely is. It's real. I've never pushed it to this limit before, so we're just going to keep going and be safe and yeah, practice good hair care.
We really appreciate that. Practicing good hair care. All right. I want to start with the year in review 2020 for Skybound. This has been an awesome year so far. You've had a bunch of rad things come out and things end and things continue. But I want to start with one of my favorite comic series that I have read in the past couple of years, Firepower. Let's start with that. Talk to me about the launch of this series, how it came about, and why people should be excited about it.
Sure. I mean, whenever Robert launches a new series, part of the trying out new formats and deliveries is always baked in. So for this one, his crazy idea was to do a first issue as a complete first volume of a trade. So the first volume is 154 pages, which means we've been working on this for quite a while. And yeah, so the idea was to launch as a OGN, then go into a #1 issue that was oversized at 30 pages and simultaneously release that during Free Comic Book Day for free. So that one, you had an OGN to sell to folks for $9.99. They also get to pick up a free first issue. All of a sudden, they have about 7 or 8 issues worth of material to dive into, and I think have a good basis of if they're going to keep picking up that series. Though, however, unfortunately, COVID hit, and the plans for that were completely squashed as Diamond shut down, and it was irresponsible to have crowds of people lining up for free comic books. So we pivoted once things started back up, and ended up Diamond allowed us to release the Free Comic Book Day issue alongside the first volume. So it was sort of delayed. It was supposed to come out in April, and then it was closer to July and August. But I think people still got a ton of content of cool martial arts, fun stuff that you expect from Robert and his co-creator Chris Somney. Yeah. He was just an unbelievable artist that it's been a pleasure to work with for the past like 18 months to 2 years or however long we've been working on this together.
Yeah, Somni is one of my favorite artists, and this stuff is martial arts action, like to the purest level. I love this book so much, and I loved that the entire first issue collection is the prologue, and the series kind of doesn't even start until you get all of this incredible background information. Can you talk to us a little bit about the story? Why is Owen Johnson a unique protagonist?
Yeah, I mean, Owen Johnson was adopted, and then once he reaches, I think he's a teenager. He wants to go search out and see where his parents came from. Teenagers always get the craziest ideas, hiking up mountains to find martial arts masters. And every step he takes along that journey, he gets a little bit closer, but not the truth, until he finally comes to the Temple of the Flaming Fist and meets a man named Wei Lun, who is very atypical of what you think from a Shaolin monk. Down to his headphones and his love of Radiohead and bubblegum. But Owen passes that test and is allowed to start training there, and it's there that he starts learning about some of the mystery of who his parents are, and makes new friends and enemies, and realizes that there's by the end of that first trade, you realize that there's a competing clan, and they come to a big battle. And then the series kind of takes off from there in a very unusual manner.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to give too much away, but everything you just described is not even what the main series is about.
So, yeah, I think at this point we could say that there's a time jump in between Volume 1 and the first issue, which will be collected in Volume 2 coming out the first week of January. In which Owen has moved on from this temple. He's created a family. He has a wife, a son, a daughter, and a dog named Peanut Butter that eats guacamole. And his past comes back and haunts him. One of his friends comes and says that some of the reasons why Owen left, there's a reason for him to come back. And Owen has to make that choice with his family to decide whether he's going to go back into that world and put them at risk. Or try to keep continuing this suburban easy lifestyle.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, I love Firepower so much. I talked to Robert about it, and I told him that when I read the book, I listened to the Kung Fu Panda soundtrack while reading it, and he said that was fine. Are there any objections on your end, Sean? Anything else I should be listening to while reading Firepower?
No, I don't have a smart-ass answer. I'm not familiar with the Kung Fu Panda soundtrack, so...
it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, Enter the Dragon. I used to have some of those martial arts. Actually, during this time, going into Amazon Prime, I'm gonna give them a shout out, not because they're a partner on the upcoming Invincible cartoon, but they have a really deep martial arts collection that comes and goes. But I was able to kind of watch a whole bunch of stuff that I'd never seen before. So if you're looking for 70s kung fu to kind of mirror the reading experience of Firepower, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to give credit to Chris for orchestrating all this action. I mean, the entire second issue, or the majority of it, is a silent fight in which Owen is fighting off ninjas that have invaded his household, but he doesn't want it to wake up his family and alert them to the danger. Now, you could argue whether he should have said, "Please leave the house while I engage in hand-to-hand combat," but I totally get it. But yeah, and then our colorist is Matthew Wilson, and the two of those guys have worked together for a while. They worked on Black Widow and Captain America and Daredevil for Marvel, and they're just really firing all cylinders. It's a ton of fun.
It is a gorgeous book, and the writing is pretty good too. So all in all, pretty great book, Firepower.
I think by now you'll know if you're a Robert Kirkman fan or not.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we have some fun stuff coming up in the next year. We actually have Chris is drawing issue 15. Now we're not even releasing issue 7 until January, but the world really expands in its upcoming arc as the family leaves the States and goes on to a brand new adventure back to the temple. So it's a lot of fun.
I cannot wait. All right. Well, talking about being a fan of Robert Kirkman, I have a feeling that this next book that I want to talk about, a lot of people were paying attention to in 2020. That's The Walking Dead Deluxe. This is a huge deal. There's so many things happening behind the scenes. My first question about this to you, Sean, is how long did you guys know you were going to do this? Re-release The Walking Dead, fully colorized, in color, and starting again from the beginning?
Well, we did for the 10th anniversary of the book. We did a one shot, which we recolored it, and Dave Stewart had colored that, and that was cool. There was like a nice Eric Stevenson interviewed the publisher of Image, interviewed Robert, and they kind of went into the origins of the story, and then it kind of went away for a while, and then one day Robert told me about this plan about over probably at least 4 years ago that we were going to color the entire series. We didn't know how we were going to collect it, but that Dave McCaig, who is one of the best colorists out there, was going to just start issue 1. We were going to color 2 to 3 issues a month, and then once we kind of hit critical mass, we would figure out the way to release it. And once The Walking Dead, the original series, ended last year, those talks got a lot more serious, and I think it was always like Dave has to color at least 100 issues before we discuss releasing this, just because we knew it would be either doing big collections or maybe more than once a month. So now that we're releasing 2 issues a month, that schedule is going to come up on you real quick before you know it. Issue 96 is breathing down your throat. So,
oh my gosh. Well, speaking of it being collected, here is the most insane thing about this series is that you can only get it in single issues as of now. That's the plan. That it is not going to be put in any sort of collection, paperback, hardcover as of yet, and that if people want to experience this, they have to be picking up those single issues, which also, by the way, I wanted to ask about this. You guys have all of this great supplemental material. The cutting room floor is involved in these issues, is included in these issues, so that people can learn more about the process and learn more about one of the most fan favorite comic series of all time. So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what else you guys are adding to this experience?
Yeah, I mean, Robert, the creation of The Walking Dead is he basically takes a sheet of paper, numbers out all the pages, and then he plots it out. He uses, as you discover, and I'm learning stuff in these issues, he uses the same pen, the same mechanical pencil to write all these plots, which, the peccadillos of writers are infinite. But yeah, so he writes out the plots, and then in these issues, he'll give commentary on what he was thinking at the time, how things changed, abandoned plans. So it gives a real good insight into the creative process. In addition to that, we just started running sort of the best of letter hacks from those original issues. So we'll go through and kind of find the most interesting ones, ones that say this series will never be colored. We ran that one recently. That was interesting. And then also to fill out the package, we have a gallery of variant covers that we've done throughout the years. I mean, we've done hundreds of variant covers. So we got to show those off. Some of them have been rarely seen or just out of circulation for a while.
And then speaking of covers, I mean, you have to talk about the sort of talent that you guys are assembling to create new covers for this incredible series.
Yeah, so each issue comes with at least 2 covers. One is the original series cover recolored. Tony Moore did the first 24. So Dave McCaig, who colors interiors, is coloring all those. And then we've also recruited superstar David Finch to do brand new covers for each of them. He had previously done a variant for our 15th anniversary, and he's just an amazingly talented, incredible writer. Writer and artist. But then in addition to that, we also had Charlie Adlard did covers for the first 6 issues, which was sort of a little wink at those only issues he didn't draw. So instead of having him completely redraw issues, which is insane, we thought it'd be good for him to do a montage of six covers that joined together and featured Shane, who's a character that he just drew like a couple times in flashback. And then we're also working with Arthur Adams, who his variants will be famous first appearances. Yeah, I mean, you can't say enough things about Arthur Adams, who it seems as his career progresses is just packing more and more detail into an already detail-laden style. So he's doing famous first appearances. They've been on most of the original issues, but they're going to start getting spaced out. For instance, like he'll be doing Tyrese, and then Maggie, and then probably Michonne down the line. And then also we recruited Julian Tadino Tedesco, who's an amazing painter, and he'll be tackling memorable events. So issue 6, he's doing one for sort of the Shane, Rick, Carl face off that kind of define the series. But so it's just we just want to pay homage to all the great moments and characters of this series, and thought this would be a good thing, for fans that want to collect one cover or dedicated to one artist, or people that want to collect them all.
I love that. Yeah. I also love that in the back of that first issue, Robert talks about how even though The Walking Dead is such a successful comic series and the show is so huge, it's this phenomenon, that you guys would get feedback from people that would be like, hey, I tried the comic, but that black and white thing ended up kind of being a barrier. Like I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
Which I think is insane, but I understand that everybody has different barriers for different stuff. Totally. There's a part of me that feels really, really excited that there's potentially an entirely new audience for The Walking Dead that have never experienced this story in comic form, that are now going to be able to read along and to get into this world and learn about the comic versions of these characters if they're huge fans of the show. So I think that that's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. I think even when you look at black and white, which always felt a little bit silly to me, like if you love comics, but I get it. It's like people that don't like black and white movies, which is insanity. But
yes, I know, right?
I don't understand. But like, yeah, I think if you look at the launch of Walking Dead, and at the same time, you kind of had manga really blowing up, which is predominantly black and white. Like I think you have a whole generation, you have the past 20 years of readers who have grown up like, I hate to say, like being colorblind for comics, and just kind of being like, hey, there's a cool story, I want to read it. And I think there are definitely moments in here that that feel almost like when the comic was translated to the show, especially with the zombie action, like it just felt more visceral. And there were definitely the moments of violence that kind of explode a bit more and make me feel uncomfortable with how they're realized. So as we go along the series, I think people will have a slightly different view on it. And we're aside from we had Russ Wooten, the series re-letter the first 19 issues, which Robert had originally lettered. But aside from that, we're not fixing dialogue. We're not changing the word zombie into something else when it was used for a couple of years. So it's fun. It's definitely weird to take a historic landmark series and do this to it. But if we recruit anyone less than Dave McCaig, it wouldn't have worked. But it's been amazing.
Well, it's so cool that the series has finally been coming out, considering how long you guys have been working on it. In terms of that experience, what it's like to read it, again, if we're talking about classic movies and classic zombie cinema, it does kind of feel like the different experiences between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Both Romero, kind of different experiences, though. You know, when you get to visit that world in color, it's there's definitely more visceral moments, and so it's gonna be really, really cool to be able to see the entire series when it comes out. How long are you guys gonna be working on this for another 8 years? Is that right? Something like that.
That's the plan. We'll see. We'll see. It'll be a marathon. The baton will be passed on to many editors. So
absolutely. All right, very nice. Well, the next book I want to talk about, another debut. Let's talk about Stillwater, because this is an incredibly unique book. It's super cool. A creative team that I am absolutely enamored with, but it's something that I wasn't necessarily used to seeing from this team, from this writer. I'm talking Chip Zdarsky. This guy's known for comedy, to me at least, and now with Stillwater, it is so cool to be able to read something horror-based coming from this team. Talk to us about Stillwater.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we had a similar feeling when Chip sent us the pitch. He had sent it to John Moisen, who he had worked with at Marvel, and he was like, "This is a serious book." And at that time, he was known for Sex Criminals and Howard the Duck, at the very least. As well as being kind of a general internet funny man. So it felt like playing against type, but the world was so attractive of taking this very Stephen King-like setup of having a town in which no one is aging as long as they stay within the boundaries of the town. And now that we're several decades into that, how the psychology of people living there. So we focus on a young man who gets a letter from a lawyer saying he's received an inheritance and returns to this town that he never remembers being at or growing up in, and quickly realizes something is awry when kids are playing on the roof of a building, and kid falls off. One pushes another one, and the kid looks like he's dead, and then they take him to the doctor. He gets up, and he's healed very quickly and runs off. And you slowly realize that, here's an entire town that's cut itself off from the world for very good reasons, that the government would probably do all sorts of awful things to them. But at the same time, they've sacrificed a lot of their personal freedoms. And this young man, Daniel, is sort of the catalyst for change, including discovers that his birth mother is still alive. And they're basically the same age. So, or they at least look the same age. But yeah, so I mean, definitely not the type of thing that we were expecting from Chip, but he has so much personality. I think in the process of developing this, it's taken a couple of years, and very early on, we brought on Ramon Perez, who in his own right is a Eisner Award-winning writer and artist from Tales of Sand, and has done a ton of Marvel stuff. And they had actually worked together at Raid Studios in Toronto, which is just has a wealth of talent there. That we knew this was going to work just with having two talented people in there. And then again, during that time, Chip has gone on to do a great run on Daredevil that's still continuing, and has really showed off all these different sides of his voice. And it's just been great to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Stephen King, because I feel like that's a great way to sort of describe what this book is. How else would you describe for people that haven't read it yet? And that first issue, by the way, is amazing. It is such a gut punch of a first issue. But how would you describe the sort of tone and vibe so that people kind of know what they're getting into?
Yeah, I mean, it's small town, very human horror. I think everyone has the experience of either growing up someplace that they want to leave, and then when they go back, their feelings toward it, how they change. I remember stepping foot in my house the first time I came back from college and feeling like it just felt smaller, and like the walls just felt, that's not psychologically. It felt weird. Maybe I had grown. Maybe dumb 18-year-old Sean didn't quite realize he had grown. But yeah, there's a protagonist that doesn't quite realize the depth of shit that he's wandered into, so is very disarming with his wit and his language, and is very casual, whereas everyone else has been in this state for over 30 years. And there's one man, the judge, who has very early on and swiftly made a decision to kind of close off the borders of the town, and had the best interests of the town in mind, but over this period of time has accumulated more power to the point in which it's tough to push back against that. So yeah, I mean, it's punctuated between some humor, but mostly very real stakes in which people that break laws there. If you break the most severe of laws, you're taken outside of the town and you're killed. That is the most sure way that someone can be killed. Otherwise, as we've seen so far, they have different ways of punishing people, like burying them alive for a several period of days. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely creative, imaginative people that live in here. But it's cool as we take this rule set of what happens when something can't age, and how do you apply that to people that are already sick, with different illnesses, or how does that apply to animals that are within the bounds? So it's a little trick that we keep twisting, but always very focused on Daniel and the humans at the center of the story.
Well, it's been awesome so far. It's got such a great creepy tone. And yeah, maybe I was lulled into a false sense of security with that Chip Zdarsky humor. I'm like, okay, there's funny moments of this. And then bam, it got so real fast. But it's a fantastic book. It's a really, really great book. The next book I want to talk about, this is really cool. I want to talk about Ava's Demon, which I feel like is not really a typical Skybound book. But then again, there's no such thing as a sort of a typical Skybound book. So can you talk to us about how Ava's Demon is sort of a unique project for you guys?
No, I think when we talk about what's a Skybound book, it's always sort of like a genre book. And I know everything is a genre these days, but we're talking about like sci-fi, horror, fantasy, less romance or slice of life, and taking a slight twist on it, taking a twist on the familiar, but ultimately rooting it with characters that you care about. And so at the center of Ava's Demon is a young woman named Ava, who creates a partnership with a demon who may be an alien queen out for revenge, and has this very broad scope of this journey of both of them kind of learning more about themselves while also getting into crazy Star Wars level sci-fi. And
absolutely,
Michelle Fuss is someone that our production designer Karina Taylor had first introduced us to a couple of years ago, and we had kicked it around, but really didn't know like how we would do. This thing was already made. It was a nice web comic and run some successful Kickstarters. But when the industry shut down, we wanted to look at other ways to tell stories. And so we had looked at a bunch of web series, and Ava's came back up. And by then we had some new staff members, and they were like, oh, I love that book too. Love that book too. There was definitely a lot of young women and younger readers that we currently weren't making a ton of content for. So we thought, let's talk to Michelle, see if she'd be interested in partnering at Kickstarter. And the one thing you learn from creators is that anyone that's running a Kickstarter is that it's a lot of work. So to have a company come on and say like, hey, we have a whole team that's willing to pitch in on this and take what you did previously and take it to a new level, whether it's between the add-ons or even remastering the book that she had previously produced. So it was definitely an experiment that paid off really well. One that one of our most recent hires, Alex Antone, who came over from DC, was chaperoning and really just knocked it out the park. So yeah, we were able to increase her fan base, increase the number of people that hadn't been able to read Ava's in a couple of years. And so it's something that, one, we did it through Kickstarter, but the goal was always to move it into mass market, have it be available in bookstores and comic book stores. So that's planned probably later next year.
Cool.
But you know, it's a whole series. There's you know, between 5 to 7 volumes planned. So if we can allow Michelle to focus on creating more Ava's Demon, we can focus on getting it out to the audience
and getting it out there. Yeah, Michelle's art is absolutely gorgeous. I love that world and that style, and it feels like it's stuff that I have never seen before. That kind of vibrancy and the colors and everything is just so stunning about it. So I'm so stoked that more people are going to be able to get to see her work and read her story. So that's really exciting. But you mentioned plans for next year. Let's just go into it. I'm talking 2021. I want to start. We're almost there. We're almost there, Sean. Just a little bit longer. Your hair's just got to get a little bit longer, then we're there. But the first book I want to talk about for 2021 that you guys have coming out is a book that kind of broke my brain. It's sort of insane. I'm talking about Ultra Mega. Can you tell us about this book? Because it's bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, so let's start with the creator. The creator is James Herron, who most people know as an artist who started in Dark Horse doing BPRD, did an image book with John Arcudi called Rumble, has done some Marvel and DC stuff, but I think he's the best artist currently working of his generation, and he's amazing. Like I tell this to him, and he's a very humble person, but yeah, I think it's something about working with a writer artist like Michelle on Ava's Demon and here, and like we've done in the past with Dan Panosian on Slots or Daniel Warren Johnson Extremity and Murder Falcon. That just like the storytelling brain just fuses, and the process of creating for each of them is different. Some people just want to get started with the drawing, some plot. So yeah, James had reached out a couple of years ago, had seen what we had done with some of those artists, and was like, hey, I have an idea. At that point, it wasn't called Ultra Mega, didn't have a title, but it was taking inspiration of doing an Ultraman-like story in which there is an infection that has come down from the stars, and people spontaneously turn into giant monsters through the kaiju virus. And so three individuals have been imbued with these powers of the Ultra Mega to become supersized and take them out. And the war's been going on for a really long time on Earth, and the toll, both physically and psychologically, has been weighing on our main protagonist, Jason, who has a family, a young son. And the first issue kind of details, one, his ongoing struggle, but the war very quickly comes to a head as the kaiju queen and her son kind of up the stakes a bit, leading to the most epic battle. So yeah, it's
insane.
But baked into it was James said, I want to have more space to be able to tell bigger battles and without sacrificing storytelling. And I think part of what appeals to me about this book is it feels like it has the energy of an early 90s image book. I think when people say image series, it has that. It's visceral and cool, but it has the sophisticated storytelling that I think current modern audiences are used to.
Yep.
But so yeah, he really wanted to do it, and so the first issue we plotted out to be 60 pages, and quickly realized that each additional issue would need to be is 44 pages. So the first arc is a whole lot of content, but yeah, it's immersive. I think once you have a story that way, not quite as long as Firepower Volume 1. But that same thing, I think readers want something that they can sit with and then go back and reread. And the plan is to release these issues monthly. We have 3 of them done. James is working on issue 4 right now, so they'll come out on time and make it feel like a huge event to dive into this world that is awesome. And one of the lines that stands out is said, like, this is what happens when gods fight, and that's what it feels like. It's just like the carnage that's created from these Ultra Mega fighting the monsters is just insane. And I think readers of Invincible probably are the closest ones to understand the level of violence that's at play here.
I was not ready.
Even...
I am a longtime reader of Invincible, Sean, and even I was like, "Oh my damn, this is brutal. It is gorgeous carnage. It's and what you were describing earlier about that sort of writer artist brain and what kind of story you get from that. I think it's very clear when I was reading the story that James is writing what he wants to write and drawing what he wants to draw. And you get to these moments in the artwork and you're like, oh yeah, James is having a blast drawing the hell out of this. And then you get to these moments in the storytelling. And I'm glad you talked about this too, this sort of level of sophistication. As big and epic and bombastic as this is, it's also weirdly personal. It's this really grounded personal story and super relatable. And yeah, it kind of cracked my brain open. I mean, you mentioned Invincible readers. Who do you think would be the sort of perfect type of reader that would absolutely love and devour everything in Ultra Mega?
I mean, from the Skybound line, beyond that, I definitely think the work of Extremity is probably the closest thing that we've done, just in terms of feel and depth of emotion, while still giving you all the cool genre doodads and insanity. It's a story that, you know, as I find with all of our series, like, you know, you're telling this story that's based in past kaiju and kind of guy in rubber suits stories.
Yeah.
But then as it, just through the nature of the voice of the creator, it kind of morphs along the way. So there's elements of cosmic horror in the beginning. And I think you ultimately realize that there's, you know, being bestowed this power of being an Ultra Mega comes at great consequence. And that's something that we illustrate as we go forward. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And Dave Stewart, we recruited Dave Stewart, who's one of the best colorists in the business, mostly known for his work doing Hellboy with Mike Mignola and the PPRD stuff. But like, just, I mean, yeah, he's one of the best. I get to sit with these creators and work in private on this stuff, and it feels like they're creating it just for me, and I almost never want to share it. But like, I've been so excited to share this one just because it, I think probably just like those 60 pages is going to blow people's heads open.
Absolutely. I mean, again, just to try to give a little bit of a tease of what the level of carnage and gore and beautiful chaos I'm talking about. You mentioned earlier Stephen King when we were discussing Stillwater. I'm thinking Stephen King. I'm thinking The Shining with that elevator and the blood coming out. Minor compared to this moment.
If that elevator was a body, yeah, that's kind of what we're going.
Not even close. Not even that. That elevator wishes it was doing what Ultra Mega's doing. It was insane. So, yeah, super excited to see this book launch in 2021. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is not a launch, but an ending in 2021. Yeah. Long-running fan favorite series Birthright is coming to a close. Talk to us about what it's been like working on that.
Yeah, Birthright is something that feels very personal to me. It was the first book that I brought into Skybound. Josh had already been working here. He had done Ghosted and had worked at Image previously. But yeah, he had pitched us 2 series. It was at the time that he was working on the pitch for Nailbiter and the pitch for Birthright, and it kind of presented both of them. And
hello.
So it's like 2021. This is still what it's going to be like.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're talking about Birthright. We're talking about family. The themes in Birthright. It has been this incredible story of a son who is lost and then grows up, and it's this sort of.
I wouldn't mind if my son got lost for a year and came back a little bit more mature.
This full barbarian man that shows back up. Well, what I want to
go inside, please.
I bet, Sean, I know that you can talk about Birthright while being circled.
Yeah, no, so he presented them. So Birthright, you know, it was hard to make a choice, and Birthright just kind of fit our sensibility. We didn't have anything in the genre space.
When he pitched it, did he already say, I know how it's going to end? At what point in the process did Joshua Williamson say, I know how this is going to end?
Very soon. It wasn't baked into the original pitch, but there was a point, probably once a year and a half in which I'm trying to still be a good dad and explain what the series is about. That
100 minutes.
we actually took a day and we went to Disneyland because Josh is a huge Disney guy, and we spent the day basically just breaking out what the rest of the series would be. At that point, we were fairly confident that we would be able to go.
So wait, you guys were at Disneyland, not riding rides and eating corn dogs, but you were plotting Birthright? You guys were plotting Birthright at Disneyland?
So yeah, I mean, we were standing in lines. I don't know if you know this. You have to stand in line, so there's a lot of time to talk and go over what's involved. So yeah, we had, I think, we were right around between arc 3 and 4, and we kind of batted around ideas, and there was some stuff that definitely affected the way the series was. But I think we were probably standing in line for the Haunted Mansion, and he broke down what the end of the story was, and it was really affecting it. It definitely mirrors the beginning of the story in really nice ways. But I think it's important. We just finished this huge arc. It's all been building to this big battle between the protagonist Mikey against the evil Lore, who finally comes to Earth, and they have this big battle, and it ends. So our final 5 issues are basically an epilogue, a little bit smaller stories, still focus on the family. There was some huge ripple effects from the last arc, so we get to take our time with each issue and really make it count. And I was actually on the phone with him last night, and he was asking for extra pages for the last one because he knows how the image needs to be laid out a certain way. And at that point, how can you, after working on 46 issues are done now, how can you deny him? But it's at the same time, Andre Bresson, the co-creator and the artist, he was someone I had worked with at DC and was looking for a project, and has just as equally informed the scope of this world, and has never backed down from any challenge that we've presented. The start of the last arc opens with a 5-page spread of the evil forces marching across Earth. It's all joined together, and that original art is now in the Skybound office that no one can look at since we don't work there right now. But this team has just got along and been great collaborators, and the story has changed knowing what Andre likes to draw. That's why werewolves were baked into the last arc a bit more. But it's really satisfying. I don't think that series, the market allows series to kind of run this long anymore. And it's good to be able to finish a series in the kind of the old school. I think Vertigo was the model that we used to use, where it's like 50 or 60 issue stories. And there was always a beginning, middle, and end. And I'm happy to be able to share that with folks.
Absolutely. Without giving anything away, just to kind of give these longtime readers a little bit of a tease, what kinds of things are they going to be feeling when they finish that final issue?
I would definitely say they're going to be happy. I think that we will stick the landing. A lot of it's been growth between brothers that were separated, and a brother coming back that is older than the younger brother. Yeah. And the dynamic that includes, and kind of the natural resentment that brothers have for each other, no matter how much they love each other. Yeah. The Mikey's disappearance led to the divorce of his parents, who have now spent a lot of time together post-divorce while caring for their sons. And so a lot of the threads that we set up in that first arc are paid off well. And then there's even though they beat the big Lore, there was one adversary that's still out there that thinks they can hide and not pay for their crimes. And that's a big part of the payoff at the end is searching out the last of these adversaries. So
that epilogue, well, I cannot wait to read it. 2021 is going to be a fantastic year for Skybound. Is there anything else that you can tell us in terms of the plans for next year that Skybound has? Because I'm sure everything right now is top secret.
Yeah, listen, the business shutting down for a while definitely took stock of books that were in progress. And, also this is the year that we were supposed to be celebrating our 10th anniversary in the biggest way possible, kicking off at San Diego, and we had some magnificent stuff there. So we're trying to repurpose those. At the same time, you also got Negan Lives, the complete unexpected one shot that no one, even myself, was expecting until it was told, and that came together basically within the span of 4 weeks. But yeah, we have some really stuff that I've always wanted to do that we're finally getting to do. Not only with original series, but what we did with Ava's Demon. We'll be launching some additional Kickstarters around comics, especially, that I think are going to be fun. And we view that as all additive to what's already coming out and supporting the direct market and the book market and digital readers, that there's a whole audience out there that wants to be engaged even more than just buying a book. They want to help with the crowdfunding and have feedback and go for those stretch goals. And I think that we're really learning how to build those so that they're as engaging as possible and rewarding. But yeah, we have a partnership that hopefully by the next time we have an expo, we can discuss. That melts my brain. But yeah, it's going to be a really exciting year, and that's not just empty hype. There's a lot of payoff to stuff that was aborted. It's almost like when people talk about when movie theaters hopefully get started back up, the avalanche of stuff. And we've kind of been hoarding some stuff that we wanted to do this past year and the next 6 months that we can't. We want to do it right. So I think the next 6 months will be very exciting for Skybound comic fans.
Well, I cannot wait to be buried in a tidal wave of blood. That's from Ultimega. No, in a tidal wave of new Skybound stuff. Can't wait to see it, Sean, and I can't wait to party with you in Comic-Con for the 11-year anniversary of Skybound. It's gonna be great, man.
Are we gonna be at Comic-Con? I'm not guaranteeing that.
We don't know.
I would love to make that happen.
Yeah,
I would love to make that happen. I would love to, hopefully by then we'll be able to talk more about the Gasolina podcast and coming through Audible, which I didn't even touch upon. But I appreciate the support. It's been great talking to you.
That's awesome, Sean. Thank you so much. Cannot wait to talk to you again. And now back to you, Hector. And we're back. What a fantastic panel, if I do say so myself. No, huge thanks to Sean for putting up with my shenanigans. We really, really appreciate him taking the time out of his incredibly busy schedule to be able to talk about everything that's been happening in 2020, as well as, like I told you guys, those comics that are just around the corner. We have to talk about Ultra Mega. It is so, so good. It is brain-meltingly awesome. I cannot wait for people to get their hands on it so that they can read it, so that we can all talk about it. It's going to be so cool. But another fantastic book that we talked about, Ava's Demon, and it's one of the most gorgeous comic books out there. I love this art style. It is so, so good. So boom, there you have it. There's your QR code. You can scan that right now to get taken to some awesome exclusive Ava's Demon merch, including hoodies, tees, tote bags, and I got to mention this, next year is going to be a real year, y'all. It's going to be real. We're going to have a lot of stuff that we have to do, especially catching up on the fact that we kind of missed 2020. So you're going to need a calendar to plan it. You've got your Ava's Demon 2021 calendar right there. So excited about this book, and I absolutely love Michelle Fuss's art style. I think it is fantastic. Fits perfectly on a hoodie. Look at that on the t-shirt. I love that drawing in particular. That image is beautiful and so super cool. So that's your Ava's Demon for you. We talked about that. We talked about Ultra Mega. We talked about The Walking Dead Deluxe. We talked about everything that we could possibly talk about in the world of comics, thanks to Sean Makowitz. So again, huge thanks to you, man. But coming up next, welcome to the party, pal. That's right. It is a brand new episode of All My Movies with my good buddy, Mr. Dan Merle. He's going to be doing a deep dive into everybody's favorite holiday classic, Die Hard. And yes, it's a holiday classic. It has been argued to death by the Die Hard nerds once and for all. It's been established now for a while that it is absolutely, positively a holiday Christmas movie. So it's here. I cannot wait to dive into this. This is one of the greatest action movies ever made. And there are few things I love in this world more than listening to Dan Merle talk about movies. Dan's awesome. So Dan, take it away. Let's get into Die Hard.
everybody, and welcome to another edition of All My Movies. Today, we will be covering one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time, and at the end of the show, I'm going to give you what I believe to be the final word on why Die Hard 1988 is one of the best Christmas movies of all time, no matter what anybody else, and that includes Bruce Willis, has to say about it. Before we jump into the show, though, I would like to remind everybody that we are less than 10 days away from the end of the Movie Trivia Schmodown season, and as it always does, this season is going to end with a bang. I'm talking about the Schmodown Spectacular, the trivia event to end all trivia events, and it all goes down on December 12th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 6 huge matches that will determine the end of this season. It has been a crazy, crazy season, and one of those matches will feature myself. I will be attempting to defend the Schmodown singles belt for a record-breaking 3rd time consecutively. If I can do this, I'm going to set records. I am so ready for this match. I've been preparing for it. I can't wait to play it. I have a difficult opponent in the rookie phenom, Adam the Coyote Collins, but I am not letting that coyote sink his teeth into my belt. I am going to fight and scrap for every inch. And there are 2 ways that you can ensure that you won't miss a minute of the action. You can go to the schmodownlive.com. There you can get a $9.99 pay-per-view ticket to see all 6 matches, well worth the money. Or you can go to patreon.com/schmodown and become a $10 patron. You will get a free pass to watch the spectacular. I promise you, you do not want to miss 1 second of these matches. So today, Die Hard is coming off the shelf, a movie that I have seen countless times. One thing that I forget all the time about Die Hard is that it is based on a book. It's based on a 1979 novel called Nothing Lasts Forever, written by Roderick Thorpe. And while there are some similarities, there are also some big differences. The biggest difference being that the main character in the novel is Joe Leland, not John McClane. There was already a movie made starring the character of Joe Leland called The Detective, starring Frank Sinatra, that came out years before Die Hard was released. But the basic setup is the same. Leland is visiting an office building, although in the book he's visiting his daughter, not his wife. But there are terrorists. There's a terrorist named Gruber. You have the character of Ellis. You have the character of Al Powell. There are a lot of things that are very close together, but some huge divergences. The big one being that in the book, Gruber does fall out of the window of the skyscraper, but he also takes Leland's daughter, who he's visiting, with him. And so the book ends on a very sour, somber, down note. As a matter of fact, it's not even really clear whether Leland is going to have survived this ordeal. Obviously, in adapting the book, they went for a much more upbeat ending to the film and made a lot of other changes to the story itself. Jeb Stewart, who is a first-time screenwriter, took the initial crack at the script, and he added a lot of the character traits that are specific to John McClane, particularly his relationship with Holly and the idea that this was a marriage that had to be mended and that this would be the driving emotional force behind both characters in the film. I think that was a very smart idea.
I think you have a clue as to what my idea of
I
our
know
marriage should be,
exactly what your idea of our marriage should be.
And from this germ of an idea, he brought that dimension to John McClane.
It's about a 35-year-old man who should have said he's sorry to his wife, and then terrorists take over the building.
Stephen E. D'Souza also did a draft of the script and brought in a lot of the things that we would know from Die Hard. And D'Souza was somebody who had had a great run as a writer. He had already worked on 48 Hours. He'd already worked on the screenplay for Commando, the screenplay for The Running Man. So a lot of 80s action films already under his belt. And so with the script, the search began for who is going to star in this movie. Now, as I mentioned, they were contractually obligated because this movie could be seen as a sequel to the movie The Detective to offer the role to Frank Sinatra, who was far too old to have played the part. Thank goodness he said no. And so then the search began for what action star was going to fill the shoes of John McClane. And offers went out to Arnold Schwarzenegger, offers went out to so many people. Ultimately, it was decided that Bruce Willis would play the role of McClane. And while this seems like a no-brainer now, it wasn't so much that when they were doing the film. When Bruce Willis was cast, he was a big star on television. He'd won an Emmy for his work on Moonlighting, which was a big ratings hit, but he hadn't really been able to translate that success into film roles. He'd been in some small parts, and then he'd had one major leading role. It was in a movie that was not a big critical hit. It was an okay box office hit called Blind Date with Kim Basinger, but that was pretty much it. So when you look at where he was and the fact that they gave him the lead in this kind of movie, it was actually a bit of a risk for the studio. This could have been seen as a risky decision, but turned out to be perhaps the best decision that you could make for this movie, because what Bruce Willis did was give the character of John McClane a relatability that was very important for the audiences watching the film.
With Bruce, you suddenly had someone who looked like a normal guy, who, for a change, looked like he was overmatched. You want your hero to be an underdog, but when Arnold Schwarzenegger's the hero, it's hard for Arnold to look like an underdog.
And when you look back at the movie, it is one of those roles where you cannot imagine any other actor playing this part. Alan Rickman himself, in this interview from the behind-the-scenes making documentary of the movie, talks about Bruce Willis being perfect for that part.
Bruce was the right man for the job. You know, the ironic aside coming out of the lift of one side of the mouth and the one eyebrow up. Perfect fit.
And that perfection really just seeps through that performance. And it's the smart-ass nature of John McClane. The fact that he can always come back at you with a quip, that he's not the bronzed, invincible statue that was the ideal of the 80s action hero. He was sensitive, he was an everyman, he was scared, he wasn't afraid to show that he was scared. He brought an entirely new level of relatability to the action movie hero, and it's something that other movies would then bring in. And it really did kick off a new era of action filmmaking here in the United States, because all of a sudden the vulnerabilities that you see in those heroes weren't weaknesses, they were assets, they were humanizing.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
So you have Bruce Willis in the lead, you have Joel Silver, a producer of Lethal Weapon and many other successful movies, behind the scenes. Then they brought on John McTiernan. Now McTiernan had just had a big hit the previous year with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator. So to bring him from Predator into Die Hard, what a twosome, what a back-to-back duo of movies that is. McTiernan, though, at first was not interested in the script, and it had to do with the fact that he thought the story was way too dour because it had to do with terrorism, and he really wanted a way to brighten up that story.
People can have fun with a robbery. A terrorist story is, by definition, dark and unhappy. But with a good caper, you can appreciate the bad guys too. And that allows us to put essentially some joy in the bad guy's activity.
That joy and that humor that McTiernan wanted to add to the script, I think, is a big part of why the movie has endured for so long. And also the idea of not being afraid to be ridiculous, because it's supposed to be fun. It's a movie that's supposed to be fun, and it's very obvious that John McTiernan got that very early on.
A lot of people have commented, and they're completely right, that the plot in this is ludicrous. So terrorists pretending to be terrorists so they could be robbers is ridiculous. But we can enjoy an intention on the part of the bad guys to cleverly snatch a whole pile of money. You can't enjoy it if right at this point he was trying to get the money because of some political thing. The sense of joy would go out of the movie at that instant.
But even when you look beyond the main names that are involved with the film, it is a who's who. You have Jan de Bont as the director of photography. You have Michael Kamen doing the music. And you have Frank Uriosti, who's one of the 2 credited editors for the film. This was his career lineup at one point in order. Oscar nominee for RoboCop, Oscar nominee for Die Hard, Roadhouse, Total Recall, Oscar nominee for Basic Instinct, Cliffhanger, and Tombstone. If you loved any sort of action-related movie between the years of 1987 and 1993, there's a good chance that Frank Uriosti was one of the editors making sure that each beat of that action film worked. I've always said that a great movie starts with the script, and something that I don't think people give enough credit to with Die Hard is the screenplay, because it's not just that it's funny, although it is very funny.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
It's also the fact that it is logically sound, and I know that sounds stupid in a movie about terrorists bombing a building and a guy jumping off a roof tied to a fire hose. I don't mean logically sound in that way. I mean, they go the distance to make sure that the things that you do see in the movie make sense. For example, the first scene that we see on the airplane when the passenger sitting next to McClane notices that he's nervous, and he suggests taking off his socks and shoes and making fists with his toes on the carpet.
After you get where you're going, take off your shoes and your socks. Then you walk around on the rug barefoot and make fists with your toes.
Number one, it establishes that we have a vulnerable action hero, but number two, it motivates him to take his shoes off. It doesn't seem like a reach that he would do that, and it establishes why he's running around barefoot, which ends up being very consequential to that character later on. But it's not just that they establish why he's barefoot, they even establish why he doesn't pick up shoes from other people that he kills along the way.
9 million terrorists in the world, and I gotta kill one with feet smaller than my sister.
And it speaks to a process where there are actually people sitting in a room saying, does what we're saying or doing make sense in this movie? And when you see the low bar that is set for so many action movies, the fact that somebody is actually thinking of these things, whether you realize it consciously or subconsciously, makes Die Hard a much better movie. Even the contrivances in the screenplay serve some kind of function. One thing that when we were watching this, the scene where John walks into the lobby and checks in on the little screen, and then it tells him where to go, and then the guy's like, oh, they're the only people left in the building.
30th floor. The party. They're the only ones left in the building.
Well, the question would be, then why did he have to check in? Because if there's only one group of people in the entire building and everything else is empty, then it doesn't make any sense. But it's to establish the fact that John's wife, Holly, is going by her maiden name. It brings him into the situation tense. It's a little piece of exposition that you don't have to do in just a straight conversation between the two of them. So even these scenes where it's like, oh, well, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense. It is to serve a purpose. And I think that's important when you look at a movie and you say like, well, why did they do this? Or why did they do that? If there is something that's unbelievable, if there's something that seems unnecessary, but it serves a purpose as opposed to just being a loose end or bad writing, then I think it's excusable in the film. And that's one thing that I'm kind of drives me crazy is this need that all films have to be perfect. Because the fact of the matter is there are very, very few films that are perfect. But even films that have quote unquote plot holes or logic problems, there is a certain suspension of disbelief that you have to give movies. And if what they're doing means that it advances the story in some way instead of being a shortcut in a badly written screenplay, then I think you have to give it that leeway, or otherwise you're just gonna have a bunch of boring movies. Another thing that often gets taken for granted is production design. And the production design on Die Hard was done by Jaxx and Degovia. And it is so amazing. Like, you know, the movie wasn't entirely shot inside the Fox building, which is under construction, which doubled for Nakatomi Plaza. There were sets, including Holly's office, that entire huge expanse that were built on a stage. And I love that set. There's so much going on with them. It's so dynamic. In reading and listening to the commentaries and stuff, it was meant to evoke Frank Lloyd Wright, as if Frank Lloyd Wright's stuff had been disassembled and put into this office. But again, that was even motivated for a reason. Yes, Joel Silver, the producer, was very enamored of Frank Lloyd Wright and wanted that stuff included in the set for the movie. But the production designer also says that he brought that in because in his mind, the Nakatomi Corporation has come in from Japan and they are absorbing Americana. And we see a little bit of that in the dialogue from Mr. Takagi when he's meeting John for the first time.
I didn't realize they celebrated Christmas in Japan.
They were flexible. Pearl Harbor didn't work out, so we got you with tape decks.
And when I talk about the great screenplay for the movie, that conversation also is able to drop in a little exposition about the building itself.
Quite a place you have here.
It will be if we ever get it finished. There's still several floors under construction.
And that idea of the building being under construction is something else that the designer Jackson Degovia wanted to give to the film. He says in the commentary for the movie that he wanted this to feel like a jungle picture, as if this was a man who was being hunted. And so having these floors under construction was able to give him that look and that feel.
My first insight when I read the script and in my first meeting with John McTiernan, I said this was a jungle picture. And he is in the jungle. It's like the naked prey, you know.
Another reason that this movie works so well is not just John McClane and Bruce Willis, but everybody else in the film is so perfectly cast. Starting with Bonnie Bedelia. as Holly Gennaro / Holly McClane, who I think is criminally underappreciated in this movie because of everybody else. She has to play it straight. She has the straight man role, and everybody else gets to go wackadoodle and do whatever they want. But if you don't believe her love for John, and if you don't believe John's love for her, then nothing else about the film works, because you have to believe that these two are driven to see each other.
He's still alive. Only John can drive somebody that crazy.
But it's not just that relationship, it's the fact that she is able to square off and really go one-on-one with every other actor in the movie and hold her own as a character, when it would be very easy to get blown off the screen by Alan Rickman.
I have a request.
What idiot put you in charge?
You did. When you murdered my boss.
If there's one thing that I think the Die Hard franchise did completely wrong, it was sidelining Holly. She's in the second movie, but they don't really meet until the end. The third movie, she's, I think, a voice on a phone, and then she's just mentioned in the other movies. That Holly-John relationship is so central to both characters and John's motivation. It was his primary motivation in the first two films. And if you can't find a way to make the dynamic between those two characters interesting, maybe that's a sign you should stop making Die Hard movies.
Kids would love to have you at the house.
I would have.
I would too.
One of the least recognizable names in the cast is Hart Bochner, but he plays one of the most recognizable characters, and that would be Ellis.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
All of that business, the cocaine, the 80s-ness of it all, apparently is stuff that he himself brought to the role.
I can't claim any credit for Hart. Hart came in with this. He's hysterical. He had so much fun with it, I think, because he'd always been asked to play the straight versions of it, and it was like he was getting a chance to make fun of all sorts of people he'd had to work for.
Of course, you can't talk about the cast of Die Hard for too long without talking about Hans Gruber himself, the late, more than great Alan Rickman.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
What makes Rickman's performance even more impressive is the fact that he was not a seasoned screen veteran. As a matter of fact, he'd never been in a movie before.
I loved working with John because, well, first of all, I had no other experience. He was the first American director I'd worked with, so I wasn't really quite sure what to expect. And I think fairly quickly it became clear that he wasn't quite sure what to expect either.
One thing that I like about this movie is that nobody wrote it off as just a cheap, dumb action movie. They actually went out and sought actors who were going to bring everything to these roles. And that's what Alan Rickman did. He brought all of his preparation, all of his training as a stage and screen actor, and dumped it into what could have been a very generic bad guy role.
I come to a play or a movie knowing that the last thing you can ever do is to judge your character. So I'm just playing a person who wants certain things.
He's also able to match Bruce Willis beat for beat, and Gruber's rivalry with John McClane is much like Captain Kirk's rivalry with Khan in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which is you have these two iconic characters clashing, but they spend little to no screen time together. The fact that these two actors can so convincingly spar with each other without being there face to face to speak to one another is just a testament to how much both of them knew what they were doing.
You are most troublesome for a security guard.
Sorry, Hans, wrong guess.
Would you like to go for double jeopardy where the scores can really change?
Speaking of actors who only get to talk to Bruce Willis on the radio, you also have Reginald Vell Johnson as Al Powell. And in addition to being McClane's partner, more or less, I've always thought that Al Powell kind of plays the role of the audience because you have Special Agent Johnson and Special Agent Johnson, no relation, from the FBI down there. You have Deputy Chief Dwayne T. Robinson, played by Paul Gleason, down there.
I've got 100 people down here and they're covered with glass.
Glass? Who gives a shit about glass?
Al Powell is the one who's playing the role of the audience. He's playing you and me. He's the one that's looking at these characters and saying, like, no, you've got to get out there and help him.
He is alone, tired, and he hasn't seen diddly squat from anybody down here. Now you're gonna stand there and tell me
that he's gonna give a damn about what you do to him if he makes it out of there alive?
He is an advocate for John McClane, and I think it's something that the movie needs, and that, again, a smart screenplay understands that it needs. You don't just want the audience silently rooting for McClane. You want somebody in the movie to also be rooting for McClane, to be the one that's right when you know that everybody else is wrong. It's a smart tactic because it gets you involved in the film that much more, and it gives you an extra big cheer moment at the end after Hans Gruber has been vanquished, when we get the redemption of Al Powell. We get his hero moment. Something, again, that has been set up earlier in the film that you really don't know if they're gonna come back to, and yet they come back to it in a great way.
You know, when you're a rookie, they can teach you everything about being a cop except how to live with a mistake.
There are so many great actors and performances in this film that we really can't talk about every single one of them in turn, but you do have Paul Gleason as Dwayne Robinson.
Excuse me, sir, but what about the body that fell out the window?
Well, who knows? It's probably some stockbroker got depressed.
You also have Devereaux White as Argyle.
Look at this, CD, CB, TV, telephone.
Clarence Gilliard Jr. as Theo.
Oh my God, the quarterback is toast.
And in addition to what they contributed on an acting and story level, it turns out that because at some points during the shoot, Willis was back to shooting moonlighting during the day and couldn't exactly be there every single night, they served a practical purpose as well.
Bruce had to work on the daytime on moonlighting, and he was exhausted at night, so Joel said to me, see if you can find more stuff for the other people to do so Bruce could get a break. So one of the reasons that the other characters got to be so rich is I was vamping.
We'll continue breaking down Die Hard in just a couple moments, but first, a word from our sponsor. With everything going on right now, of course, health is at the forefront of everyone's mind, myself included, but it's really hard right now to think about going to a doctor's office, whether you're worried about the safety or the availability of medical care. Thankfully, there's now a practical and affordable way for you to take control of your own health and get personalized care right from your own home. SteadyMD is your personal doctor online, and it is telehealth done right. You start off by taking a quiz to get matched to your primary care physician based on your specific health needs. Then you set a 1-hour appointment online with that physician, and after that, your doctor is available to you anytime you need by phone, text, or video chat. Now, unlike some other services, this is not just some random doctor on call that you'll be seeing. Each doctor at SteadyMD has a limited number of patients so that they can give you the time and attention you deserve. I went and took the quiz on SteadyMD, and it really does take just a couple minutes to fill out. But the questions are very thorough. They're asking you things like, what kind of diet do you have? Are you keto, paleo, gluten-free, everything like that? Are you experiencing stress, anxiety, depression? Do you want to lose weight? Do you have asthma? All the kinds of things that you would get asked at a normal doctor's office when you're doing your intake, they're asking you on SteadyMD, but it doesn't take 10 minutes to fill out. And what I liked about the result of that questionnaire is when it was done, it showed me a list of different physicians that I could go to and also what they specialize in. So even though SteadyMD already knew exactly what I was looking for from a doctor, they still gave me a lot of different options depending on where I wanted to put my focus right now. And SteadyMD can handle so many different things, whether you want to get healthy, stay healthy, manage chronic conditions that you already have, get help sleeping, help with your anxiety, losing weight. There are so many different things that they can help you with, and it's all personalized to make sure you get the care that you want. All of this is done from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to worry about waiting rooms. You don't have to worry about germs. All of the prescriptions are sent to your local pharmacy. All of your medical records are in one place, and you get unlimited access to your doctor for $99 a month. No additional visit fees or copays. Plus, if you already have health insurance, SteadyMD will help you understand your insurance and help you get the most out of it. But if you don't worry. Health insurance is not required to use SteadyMD. SteadyMD is now accepting members of all ages in all 50 states. So go to steadymd.com/movies where you can take the free quiz and get matched to the doctor that's right for you. steadymd.com/movies. There is no risk and no long-term commitment. Once again, that's steadymd.com/movies. And I'd like to thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
You know we got a pool going on you.
What kind of odds am I getting?
You don't want to know.
Put me down for 20. I'm good for it.
All of these things culminate in one of the best action finales of all time, including one of my favorite stunts of all time, as John McClane jumps off the top of Nakatomi Plaza just as the roof explodes. And then we get the final showdown between John McClane and Hans Gruber. And again with John McTiernan, this was him trying to transcend what was on the page, because this setup, this hero-villain meetup, was not a scenario that he was particularly enthused about.
I was terrified building this scene because it's such a cliche. The villain holding the gun to the head of the hero's love interest. Literally, I've seen it 50 or 60 times. No, hundreds of times. I think we got away with it all right.
This culminates in one of the most memorable 80s bad guy deaths of all time as Hans Gruber falls to his death, and this was so well shot. It does not look like a special effects shot. Think about the fact that RoboCop came out the year before in 1987 and had a very similar shot as far as a guy in a suit falling out of a window to his death. Look at how terrible that shot looks, and look at how amazing the Hans Gruber death shot looks to this day. You have Rickman's performance, which according to him was something that he wasn't necessarily asked to do, but felt a little bit of pressure to say yes to.
They said, look, this is the shot, and we can, of course, put it on the back of a stuntman's head and have him fall face down. And then they kind of shrugged and looked hopefully at me. And I looked at the script and I thought, no, I'm not going out face down. So I said, no, I'll do it.
And you add in the fact that the stunt coordinator apparently pulled a bit of a fast one to get a very believable reaction from Rickman in that moment.
I said, look, I'm going to let you go on 3, 2, 1, go. So I told my guy that was releasing him, let him go on 1. And he got that expression on his face.
No acting was required for that shot.
Following Gruber's death and Al's hero moment, John and Holly then get into the limo with Argyle and drive away into the sunset. And this is another one of those things I was talking about where you have to go with the effect that the movie is making over the practicalities of it, because at the very minimum, they should be staying to be debriefed and questioned. There would be so much paperwork. Nobody really knows what's happened. Their Christmas day would be spent doing nothing but talking to police officers, FBI investigators. There were explosions. 2 federal agents are dead. Not a chance in hell that they'd be allowed to just drive away. And secondly, if they were allowed to drive away, I really hope that Argyle's driving John to a hospital, because he's got a gunshot wound. He has severe injuries on both of his feet. They are not going home. They need to go straight to the nearest ER, if anywhere. These are the practical questions that you ask, but of course it works better for the movie for the 2 of them to make out in the back of the limo as they go home to open Christmas presents with their kids. If you're literal with every single movie, then you're not going to enjoy any of them. Die Hard was pegged by Fox before it was even in production as the studio's tentpole summer blockbuster for summer of 1988. And the trailer for Die Hard is one of my favorites. As a matter of fact, it's trailers like this upon which honest trailers stand.
It's Christmas Eve in L.A.
California.
And New York cop John McClane has come to see his wife.
I missed you.
Instead, he's going to have to save her.
This is the kind of trailer that is now parodied, but I love it for what it is. It is perfect 80s trailer cheese.
He's an easy guy to like.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
And a hard man to kill.
Fox may have been confident in the movie, but one thing that they were not necessarily confident in still was their star, Bruce Willis. And that was probably because a few months before Die Hard opened in 1988, Bruce Willis was in yet another critical and financial flop called Sunset. So the famous Die Hard poster that's half Bruce Willis and half the skyscraper, that turns out that was a little bit of marketing magic on the part of Fox, because they were trying to de-emphasize Willis a little bit. As a matter of fact, some print ads for sneak previews of the movie didn't show Bruce Willis in them at all. It was just a picture of the building. Now, Fox has denied that they were trying to de-emphasize Bruce Willis, but the fact of the matter is that Bruce Willis kind of had the stink of a failed film actor on him already, and this wasn't helped by the fact that he had been paid over $5 million for his role in this movie, which was an unheard of number for somebody who had yet to prove that they could open a movie. So a lot of people were rooting for Bruce Willis to fail, or were convinced that he would fail. It was only when this movie came out that people realized that he is the heart and soul of this film.
She's heard me say I love you 1,000 times. She never heard me say I'm sorry.
In hindsight, it's easy to say it's Die Hard. Everybody loves it, but that was certainly not the case when it came out. As a matter of fact, the movie got kind of mixed reviews, including from Siskel and Ebert. I love featuring their reviews on this show because in many ways, to so many people, including myself at the time, they were the voice of American film criticism. And while Siskel had some issues but ultimately liked the film, Ebert could not get over the incompetence of the police, and it derailed his enjoyment of the entire movie.
There was one character in this movie, a deputy chief, whose actions are so stupid and so unmotivated and wrong-headed that finally he just brings the movie to a stop every time he opens his mouth. Bad writing. He always says the wrong thing. He understands nothing.
This is where I say it's important that you can still admire somebody and disagree with them, because I think that is such a wrong-headed criticism. Yeah, of course he's wrong all the time. That's his character. There wouldn't be any movie if he was right all the time. There'd be no conflict. In my estimation, he had Die Hard completely wrong.
There are always groan at things.
There
like
are idiotic cops in the Dirty Harry movies too, and you laugh at them. Come on, because Harry's smarter.
This is not an idiotic. This is not an idiotic cop. This is idiotic writing to make a cop like this.
In its first week of wide release, Die Hard came in third place behind Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Coming to America, both films that had been in release for over a month at that point. And while Die Hard stayed in the top 5 for 3 months, it never held the #1 spot at the box office, not even later in its theatrical run. Die Hard was the 7th highest grossing film of 1988, just above another cinematic classic, Tom Cruise's Cocktail, but well below Crocodile Dundee 2, Twins, and Big. Another thing that might surprise you is that Die Hard was nominated for 4 Academy Awards: Best Sound, Best Sound Effects Editing, Best Film Editing, and Best Visual Effects. It would lose all but one of those to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The other one it lost to the jazz biopic Bird. But its most immediate lasting legacy was reshaping the face of action movies altogether, because the pitch for every action movie suddenly became Die Hard Inna or Die Hard Onna, which is something that screenwriter Steven D'Souza recalls being pitched years after he co-wrote the screenplay for the actual original film.
I get a call from a producer that says, you should do what you write. And I've got the script, it's right up your alley. It's a big action movie, fix the script and you can direct it. I said, okay, what is it? He said, it's Die Hard in a building.
But perhaps the second most enduring legacy of Die Hard is the ongoing debate about whether or not this is a Christmas movie. Now, a couple years ago at a Comedy Central roast, Bruce Willis made a very controversial statement by taking a hard stance on this issue.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
With respect to Mr. Willis, and I understand that he's the person in the movie, he's the face on the cover of this Blu-ray collection in front of me, I have to respectfully disagree, because I think that Die Hard is objectively and finally 100% a Christmas movie. And here's why. Number one, it starts on Christmas Eve and it ends on Christmas Day. There is no time in the setting of this movie where Christmas is not directly involved in what's going on.
Is Daddy coming home with you?
Well, we'll see what Santa and Mommy can do, okay?
And it's not like nobody acknowledges that it's Christmas. Hans Gruber talks about the fact that it's Christmas.
It's Christmas, Theo. It's the time of miracles, so be of good cheer.
When the vault door opens, they say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
The score incorporates Christmas music into it. It is literally infused into the music of the movie. The climax of the entire film has the main character with a gun strapped to his back using Christmas packaging tape as jingle bells play on the soundtrack. The last line of the movie is about Christmas.
This is their idea of Christmas. I gotta be there for New Year's.
The last song of the movie is Let It Snow, a song that you play at Christmas.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
When you're trying to determine if something is a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie, I think you have to ask the question, could the movie exist if Christmas was not a factor? Some people would look at Die Hard and say yes, but I would say absolutely not, because the entire plot hinges on the fact that Hans Gruber can take hostages on this floor, but have the rest of the building be completely empty. That only happens one night a year when they're doing the Christmas party on Christmas Eve when everybody else is at home with their families. This isn't a Shane Black movie where you just throw up a Christmas tree in the background and say it's Christmas, but the season is completely superfluous to the plot of the movie. Everything about this movie, from the music to the plot to the resolution of the film, is essentially infused with Christmas. Die Hard is an essential Christmas movie, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise. And by fight, I mean talk to them probably a little more calmly than I'm talking right now. Unless it's Bruce Willis, I would probably just shake my head and agree with him because he scares me.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
My personal history with Die Hard starts sometime in my teens, and I can't really put my finger on it. As I recall, the first time I actually saw the movie, and a lot of it seeps into you through cultural osmosis, but I remember watching it at my friend Will's house on VHS and really, really liking it. Then when I got a DVD player, there was a DVD version that was put out in 1999. I'm guessing I probably got that version. I remember I bought Die Hard first, and I hadn't seen any of the other sequels. I ended up buying the sequels one at a time, also on DVD, when there were only 3 Die Hard movies. So I've seen it at home. I can't tell you how many times. Mara and I went to see it in a theater once on a film print a couple years ago. That was so much fun to see this movie in a theater with an audience. It's one of the things that I miss so much about what's going on right now. There is no substitution for seeing films like Die Hard with other people. And that's one of the shames, is that so many people are going to go through their whole lives having only watched Die Hard at home. It is a different experience with an audience. And so if there comes a time when we can do these kinds of things again and you get a chance to see Die Hard in a theater, I very much recommend that you do so because it is a blast. But it's not just people like me that consider Die Hard a key part of their film lives. As a matter of fact, in 2017, Die Hard was selected to be on the National Film Registry, which is curated by the Library of Congress. It was inducted along with other films, including Memento, The Goonies, Titanic, and Superman. Die Hard remains an action classic and a classic in general to me. This is the latest version of Die Hard that I own. It's part of the 25th anniversary Blu-ray collection that contains, at that time, the 4 existing Die Hard films. There has allegedly been a 5th Die Hard film that was produced that I may or may not have seen, but I'd rather not acknowledge right now. It's safe to say that we're not going to be doing an episode, even though I am a staunch completionist on the 5th Die Hard film. I'm perfectly content to just talk about the first 4. This is a disc that's got some pretty cool things. First of all, it has the raw footage from the newscasts, or a lot of the newscasts that you see in the movies, and that includes some of the bloopers that you didn't see.
Well, Gail, by this time, I'm sorry.
Entertainment tonight.
It's also packed with trailers for the films, picture galleries, and they have a bonus disc which includes a feature-length documentary called Decoding Die Hard, which, as we cover these sequels, you're going to hear more about. But it does cover a lot about the first film, the behind the scenes of it, the development of it, and its legacy and impact. It is a really great documentary if you're looking at the franchise as a whole up to that point. And that wraps up my thoughts on the action classic Die Hard. I hope it is a classic in your house around the holidays. It certainly is around mine. Thank you so much for watching the show. If you are watching us on YouTube on the Schmodown Entertainment Network, please head over to Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. Subscribe to the show there as well. Put it in your pocket and take it with you. Leave us a rating and review. And if you're listening to us and you want to see the visual of the show, you can check us out on YouTube on the Schmodown Entertainment Network. And don't forget the Schmodown Spectacular on December 12th. You can either buy the pay-per-view ticket on the Schmodown Live or become a $10 patron at patreon.com/Schmodown. It is something that you're not going to want to miss. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to me yammer on about Die Hard. Next week, we'll be covering yet another holiday classic. But for now, it's time to go back on the show. Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
And we're back. Home Base Hector here, and that was an awesome episode of All My Movies with Mr. Dan Murrell. He is one of the greatest of all time. You know, he actually is, in fact, the greatest of all time Schmodown competitor. In case you didn't know, he doesn't just host great, informative, and entertaining shows about movies. He competes competitively in movie trivia, obviously, with the Schmodown Entertainment Network. I'm talking about the Schmodown itself. And if you wanted to get your hands on some Dan Murrell merch to show him some love, to support him and his incredible movie trivia conquests, then you can scan this QR code right now, boom, baby, and get taken right to the Movie Trivia Schmodown GOAT merch. They've got hoodies. They've got GOAT stickers. They've got GOAT hats. They've got GOAT t-shirts. And just in case you weren't aware, let me put on my best announcer voice for this. Dan Murrell is facing off against Adam Collins in the singles title match this Saturday, December 12th, during the spectacular, the final main event during the Schmodown Season 7. So don't miss that. Make sure to check that out. And there is nothing better than cheering on Mr. Dan Murrell, because he is one of the most incredibly gracious and lovely and thoughtful human beings that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And I love cheering him on when he is absolutely kicking ass in the Schmodown. So congratulations on that episode of All My Movies, Dan. And I'm sure that you're going to beat everybody this Saturday with the Movie Trivia Schmodown final event. It's going to be fantastic. And speaking of final events, guys, that's it. We did it. The Skybound Holiday Expo is coming to a close. We've only got one more panel, but it may be the greatest single panel you will ever see with your human eyeballs in the entirety of your lifetime. I'm talking about Sean Kirkham, aka Big Clutch. He's pulling through, and he's going to be opening up that comics vault live for us. And if we're lucky, he's going to be gifting us with some amazing, amazing treasures. What's going to be in there? You're going to have to tune in to find out. So take it away, Big Clutch. Last panel of the day. Let's see what you got. Boom. Skybound Comics Vault Live.
It's the holidays at Camp Bonkers.
Welcome, South Pole Santa. How are you? Oh.
Let's make some 3D snowflakes out of paper. Wow. Celebrations can include gifts, feasts, and traditional sweets. Sounds pretty great to me.
Hello? Yeah, hi, Clancy. Little help here?
Did you know that gingerbread houses originated in the 19th century in Germany?
Whoa.
Is there a hint?
No.
I carry a sleigh on my back.
Okay.
It's quite heavy.
Happy New Year, campers!
Happy New Year!
Every 7 years or so, the cells in our bodies are completely replaced over time.
Yart P.
I'm Party Bernard.
Head over to youtube.com/campbonkers right now. You don't want to miss it.
Happy holidays! Oh, nuts.
Oh, I'm wiping my nose. Oh man, this is crazy. I didn't know I was on here. You guys saw me like a little early prep time. What's going on, everybody? Hello. We're gonna wait a minute. It's not officially 2:10 p.m. But thanks for coming out to Comics Vault Live Holiday Expo. This has been an amazing day. A lot of super cool stuff has been shown to everybody. I gotta say, super stoked about the Bear Walker collab with Attack Peter, and then the little we're working with the folks on the little Dormammu vinyl toy. That's going to be great. Super stoked about the video game stuff. Ori sounds awesome. All the comic stuff with Sean and the crew. Really excited for Ultra Mega from Dan Herron. Dan Murrell. Oh my God. Can we talk about how awesome Dan Murrell's show is? I've been listening to it for a while now. Super stoked. I love movies. but I also don't know jack about movies. I'm horrible at trivia, movie trivia, Schmodown. I would be like the worst person there, but I could talk some mad shit. So, corruption coming for you. Watch it. Also, shout out to Dan Merle for having a little shipwreck action figure in his background. I'm a big guy. I love Easter eggs and weird stuff in the background. So I love checking out people's shelves. So awesome, Dan. I'm glad you're a shipwreck fan. Big fan. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comics Vault Live. We are up and running. This is going great. We're going to, first off, I'm going to let you know, we've got some mystery boxes and we added some more mystery boxes. I think we had just sold out. We added an extra 200 mystery boxes. These, like before, like the past Comics Vault Lives we had all summer, these are just random stuff from the web store that we put it into boxes. You get a guaranteed CGC comic book in there, Walking Dead 9.8. You also get some of the action figures, some pins, hardcover books. You get some raw books, bunch of cool stuff in there. So if you're interested in those, there's also a random chance. I don't know how they work. Some people have gotten 2 in their order. Some people have gotten 0, but we randomly inserted in the mix of stuff, red foils. So there's 2 options for red foils. There's a option for a Negan Lives 1 red foil. There's also an option for a Walking Dead Deluxe #1 red foil. And so those are only currently available in those boxes. So if you want to find them, you want to go check it out, you want to give it a shot, great. It makes awesome stocking stuffers and gifts for friends. So if you buy one, you get a bunch of stuff, you take out what you want, and then you give holiday stuff, all the other stuff. Works out great. Yeah, so again, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone on the crew who's put together this Holiday Expo. It's been a big task to shove this thing in before the end of the holidays, but we wanted to give you guys some love and get some really cool stuff. So I have the chat up here on the screen. I might be saying hi to some people as we go through here. If you have any questions, feel free to throw a question in there. Jay Mischief just asked, does every box have a CGC? It does. Every box has a CGC Walking Dead CGC book 9.8. So that's pretty awesome. I'm going to get this out of the way because I know people want nuts, but I honestly be more. I don't know who you are. It's a weird name. Strange. I'm not going to talk about Clementine. No news for Clementine from this show. So if everyone's going to get upset about that, I apologize. But I do love Clem. Clem always will live on in our hearts. So there you go. Knocked out of the park. We're going to move forward. Comics Vault Live. Let's do this. So we've got some stuff for you guys. This is not going to be a crazy long one. We got some stuff for you. I think we've got the mystery boxes. Of course, those are back for a little bit. 200 of those in the store at this moment. Zach Thomas, you're going to be very happy. I do have some Oblivion song. I've got a couple books for you guys. We're going to do some really cool things here. We're going to start it off with foil fever of some kind. I've got a very small amount of these. I've got 100 of this book. This is the gold foil Walking Dead 1 Deluxe CGC 9.8. Put that in the window here. See how it looks. Let me take a look and make sure everything looks pretty. Hold on a second. I got a little bit of a lag on my computer because I'm a slow guy. We'll see if the book looks good, but I think it looks pretty sharp and crisp. By the way, can we talk about how awesome my sweater is? This is a gift from my girlfriend a couple years ago. It's like cats and little ornaments, and I've got this. I was trying to outdo James Hudson, so I went and grabbed some Ric Flair drip. Woo! Put it on here and see what we can do. A little hat on, so we're doing pretty good here. Yeah, so Walking Dead #1, it's $125. I've got 100 copies available in CGC 9.8. This book is crisp, clean, and pretty. So those links should be in the chat. And I think you can also, if you don't see the link direct, there is the overall collection link that I think it's posted into the chat as well. So you can go to the overall collection, keep that in your window as things get turned on live. They'll be popped into that list as well. If it's something you want to grab this book, don't wait. Put it in your cart and buy it now. There's the list like there. So that's pretty awesome. Let's talk about some other Comics Vault Live stuff. So I really appreciate you guys Victor, you should dye your beard red. No. I've actually done a pretty job about never dyeing my hair. I let it naturally go white and look like an old man at my young age of 29. So it's really, really weird, but I appreciate it. I got my retirement for being a Santa Claus, a mall Santa at some point. So that'd be great. So once we have malls back, like the 1980s, we can go back and be with people, and I'll let weird children snot on me and sit on my lap. That's really not what I want to do. Sorry. Blah, 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 blah. Did Black Foil ship out today? Black Foils actually got picked up yesterday, everybody. Thank the heavens. We had a long wait with the USPS, but they finally came. They grabbed all the Black Foil stuff from last week's Comics Vault Live, picked it all up, so everything's going out. I think I've even seen that some people have mentioned that they're getting updates, and so stuff should be reaching you all shortly. So once again, we'll you know what? Because I did it before, we're probably gonna do it again. And you guys know what we like to do. Robert likes to treat everyone, so Robert said I could toss in a couple of these. So randomly, if you get a CGC, if you're going to buy one of these, you have a chance, very limited number. I think we've got 5 of these that we're going to be able to throw in there, but there's going to be a 9.9 upgrade to random orders. So we've got 5 random orders. We'll get a 9.9 Walking Dead Deluxe Gold upgraded. So that's exciting. So if you want one of these, you got to try to get one of these, and then we might throw it in there. So 100 of this available, $125 a pop. I think it's a limit of 2 per order, so don't do that. But there's a chance to get a 9.9, so that's exciting. We'll do that as well. Yeah, super stoked. We've had a really great time doing this stuff. A couple quick questions. No graded figurines today. We're just doing comic books. Don't really have a ton of time to do figures, but in the new year, we're going to have a bunch of AFA stuff coming in there. So that's going to be exciting. I'm sorry, I got a little sniffle here, so I might sneeze. Yeah, it's been, I've been a little cold. What are you going to do? What do we got going on here? Any statues today? So statues, no new statues besides the ones we put in there last week. I think we've got some left of the Ezekiel and Shiva statue, and then the AMC Negan statue. I think those are both available in the store still. Great deals, by the way. So if you want those, I mean, I think they were $150 or $125 somewhere in that realm. But amazing buys on those. So if you want to get those, get them if you can. Let's see what we can do. Let's talk about the next thing. So I know you want holiday stuff. You want something that could be kind of cool as a gift for someone or yourself. I know you guys. Everyone wants to. You say you're going to buy it for someone else, and only a couple of you do, and you keep it all yourselves. And I do the same. Holiday, Christmas time is always like the bigger, like, what's Clutch going to buy himself? And I buy a ton of shit, and then I buy a couple things for a girlfriend, and that's it, whatever. But this is the kind of one. I want to have a couple signed things. So we've got we're doing Negan Lives. This is not the foil. This is the regular first print of the book. Negan Lives, CGC, signed by Robert Kirkman. This is CGC 98 Signature Series. We've got 50 of these. They're $100 a pop. 50 of these available. They're going to go quick. I mean, I only got 50 of these bad boys in stock, so that's pretty awesome. Robert has been very kind. He's been a very good pandemic person. Does not leave the house. He sticks around. I've got a call over there days in advance, drop off stuff, leave it around. It gets put into a special handling area, and then he has I don't know how magic happens. 2 days later, all the stuff signed for me. I take it back. We get it CGC'd. We're all good. Pretty awesome. So this is Negan Lives #1, CGC Signature Series 9.8, 50 copies available. They're $100 a piece. So if you guys are interested in those, pick those up right now. I think they're probably going to go fast. And if you see something, don't wait. Don't put it in your cart and hope like you'll just get it all together. Get it all now because they're going to go. The cart system does not hold it in the cart. It'll go and pop out. So if you don't want to buy it, you got to buy it immediately. Oh, that's cool. Nightbot. I don't know who that is. Nightbot sounds pretty awesome. I'm in the YouTube chat right now. So if anyone wants to chat in YouTube and you want to toss out a question, feel free to go ahead and toss a question there and I'll answer you quickly if I can, if I see it pop up on the screen. But this Nightbot sounds like a pretty cool like superhero. I don't know what that is. Nightbot. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. That looks great. I think we're moving those along. Let's talk about all right, let's show the next book. So this is No Victor, You Cannot Buy My Shirt. I'm sorry. This is I don't know where we got it from, but it's pretty amazing. Let's look at the next and last CDC book. This is what we got here. So this is the Oblivion Song #1. This is the collector's edition. This is the book that was with the statue set. So this is super, super hard to get. We had a couple when we went through the warehouse and we're cleaning out the stuff before the move. We found some in the vault of our comps. And so I've got 15 of these. These are CGC 9.8s. Signed by Robert Kirkham as well. These are pretty amazing to get in this state because you can only have gotten them in the collector set with the statue, which we had some APs that we sold on the site at the last Expo, and so this is it. So really excited. We've got 15 of these up on the store. $250 a piece. These are pretty rare, and this is definitely below. Like I like to hook you guys up. When we do this thing, this is pretty fun. We do research. We actually go on to eBay and make sure that we're not, I want to give you guys a deal. So we go below market on this stuff, knowing that it's only going to be able to be here for a little bit. So we just do it quickly, give it to you guys at a good price. So this is pretty cool to get. Let's see. Let's question time. Kitties. What does Santa Clutch have to say? Do we have a chance to get these in the mystery boxes? No, these are not in the mystery boxes. Mystery boxes are a bunch of random Walking Dead CGC books. None of these books are available in there unless at some point we had extras and they toss them on the stream. But for the most part, you're not going to find these in the mystery boxes. Any chance at new Walking Dead comic dead figures in the Walking Dead figures in the future? I'd love to. It's a thing we're always looking at. I do expect there to be some sort of announcement about Invincible figures at some point because there's the Invincible animated series coming out in the new year, and I think we've got some action figures that we're working on with some really cool people, so we expect to have an announcement about that pretty soon. Let's see what we got here. Anyone else got any questions? No Stillwater. I'm sorry. The new year we'll have Stillwater. We've got a lot of catching up to do. It's actually been a pretty furious, fast and furious time after we shut down our warehouse and moved all of our stuff to our new 3PL provider and trying to get caught up and get organized with all the stuff in the move. It's been crazy because we're trying to get into, we got into Black Friday, then we got into the holiday. And so next year we'll have a lot more stuff and we'll be kind of pulling stuff together to kind of get a nice refresh of books and stuff. So pretty great. This is not 2 hours early. I think this is on time, dislabeled. Yeah, this is the last book that we're going to have for the day. So we'll go through it again. And then I do have another secret Santa type thing that I'm going to tell you guys about shortly, but let's go over what we've got. And no, Sarah, there's no Stillwater. We know Stillwater. Everyone loves Stillwater. Chip Zdarsky's a human treasure, but we'll have Stillwater in early next year. So hold on tight for that. So once again, let's take a look at the books we've had for the sale today. We started off. This is Walking Dead Deluxe #1. This is the gold foil version. Looks like the Oblivion Song Collector's Edition is sold out. It's pretty great. It's awesome. My little Ric Flair swag my drip is dripping. It's falling off. Gonna make the beard look good. So these, we only had 100 of this available. This is $125. It's a pretty amazing price for a CGC 9.8 of this book. Once these are gone, they're going to be gone. And then also, like I said, if you get one of these, you do have a chance. We're going to give away 5 copies of this in 9.9. So we'll randomly toss those in there. So if you're interested in having a chance to get one of those, we will upgrade 5 of the orders for the Walking Dead book in there. So that'd be great. We've also got Negan Lives. I think they just mentioned Negan Lives is sold out, so that book is gone. And then Oblivion Song is also sold out, so that's great. All the stuff is sold out except for the gold foil. So if you're interested in the gold foil, please pick that up. This thing is falling all apart. Negan Lives is sold out. I think we've got some of the Walking Dead Deluxe in there, so those are available. Jimmy Linguini, what's up, Alex? Is it true that Robert bought out Destroyer from Marvel? That is not true. Destroyer is a Marvel book. But, it was awesome. I don't know if anyone picked it up, but it was Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker. It was a mini series. I think it was like 5 or 6 issues collected. It is probably one of the best Marvel books that's ever been put out. It's such a great story. Pretty amazeballs. Mystery boxes ship free with orders of 65 or more. That's pretty awesome. Let's see. Anybody got any questions? No questions. Anyways, no questions. People are talking. Yeah. So free shipping on orders over $65. So that's great. So if you get 2 mystery boxes, that's there. There are no free mystery boxes, Skybound. I don't know what your Dead Walker talking about. It's kind of crazy. There was not a lot of the Oblivion songs. That's a pretty. We don't have a ton of comps on that book. So Jay Mischief. I'm not sure if I believe the Negans should all be signed in gold, but they might not be. I don't remember. I didn't look at every issue and make sure, but those are pretty cool. Let's see what we got here. Oh, tons of questions. Everything's coming in. Skybound doing anything other for the ending of Outcast? I think it's just gonna end. It's gonna come out. I'm not sure when the date of when that comes out, but I'm not sure if we're doing. I don't think there's any extra fanfare or flair. I think it's just gonna be a pretty awesome ending. Definitely we'll have Murder Falcon in the future. That is something that we're gonna be hitting that up pretty soon. I got a bunch of Murder Falcon stuff that I tucked away, so we'll be seeing if I can get some signed stuff too. We're trying to get some more signed stuff for the stream. Especially it's a little tough in the pandemic to go to shows and stuff, so we're gonna look for what we can do. So we'll check that out. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys. We're gonna be wrapping this up pretty soon, but I just want to say thank you. Comics Vault Live was a thing that we kind of threw together last minute. We didn't know what this was going to be or how this was going to go, and everyone who's kind of come out every month with us and has had an amazing time, made me look good, which is pretty awesome. It's not hard to do. I need a lot of help, but it's been a really fun thing that we've been able to do. And going into next year, we'll be doing more live stream stuff. You'll be seeing a lot of this ugly mug a lot more. So I want to say thank you, and I think Santa may have come. Santa may have come early. So what is this? A little stocking stuffer over here? Oh, this is kind of a neat thing. This is kind of cool. It says Sean right there. It's a little red foil, CGC red foil. It's kind of nifty. So what we're gonna do, and this is not for sale. I will let you guys know. I'll put that here in the video so you guys can check it out. But as a thank you to people who joined us over the past 12 months of doing this show, I'm going to randomly give away 5 of these. I'm going to go on each. I'm going to go through all the orders. We're going to take everybody's names. I'm going to put them in random.org. I'm going to mix it up, and then I'm going to randomly send out 5 of these to customers. So we're just going to toss them in an order, toss them in a box. We're not going to let you know beforehand. We're just going to put it in a box and ship it. So it's a big thank you. We want to say you guys are awesome. We got some of these graded. So we're going to put 5 of these randomly to people who've bought from not just this CVL now. Woo! But over the course of the whole year. So everyone who's bought something from us during the Comic Vaults, we are going to put your name in a mixer, and we're going to mix it up, and then someone's going to get a Walking Dead red foil. So awesome. Once again, I think our time is wrapping up here. It is almost 2:30. I just clicked over to 2:30. So thanks to everyone who's come out all year to Comics Vault Live, who's supported us during the expos. We know this has been a fucking weird year. 2020, huh? What are you going to do? I'm looking forward to the holidays. I hope everyone has a great holiday, whether you celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you got. You just get drunk on Christmas Eve and cry your tears away. Whatever you do, I love you. We appreciate you guys coming out. 2021 is around the corner. Thank goodness. Let's have a great year. Once again, thanks to everyone. You know where to find me. Big Clutch on the socials. I'm around if you want to say what's up anytime. Give me a shout. We'll do what we can. Yeah, and actually, Jan Fitzy. So yes, if you bought something today and this is your first day of ordering something during Comics Vault Live, I think you'll be on the. We'll mix you in on the thing, so we'll be good. Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate you all coming out. So wait, I'm sorry, J Fanfic Fitness. If you bought it during Comics Vault Live during the show, maybe I'll open it up a little bit. Let me see. I got to see what I can do. Maybe I'll add an extra. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add one more. So we'll do 6. We're gonna do 6 of these just because I like it and I appreciate it. So we'll do 6 books. 5 of them will just be for people who bought stuff during Comics Vault Live, and then 1 will be for people who bought stuff during the expos. So we've done a couple expos since January or July, and so we'll do a special July mix of expos. And so we'll have one of those available to the people who just bought anything during that time, not just CVL. So once again, thanks everyone for coming out. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Be good to each other. Go get it. That's what we do. Yeah.
And we're back for the final time, everybody. Hector Navarro here. This is your home base, and this has been the Skybound Holiday Expo. Huge thanks to Sean Kirkham, a.k.a. Big Clutch, for coming through in the clutch and opening up that Comics Vault Live for all of us to enjoy. Now, if you didn't get the stuff that you wanted to get, I've got some very good news for you. Skybound has just informed me, yes, you don't want to miss out on the mystery box. It's got the best bang for your buck. There's the QR code right there. Boom. To take you directly to the stuff that you just saw in the Comics Vault Live. And Skybound is telling me that they're going to keep the Comics Vault Live products available for the next few hours unless they sell out. Unless they sell out, y'all. So it's all on you. And while you're there, make sure to check out store.skybound.com. There is a huge sale going on. It's been going on all day. 30% off all of their major, biggest best sellers. So you can get all of your holiday shopping done in the bag and maybe treat yourself to a little something as well. You know why? Because you've earned it. Because you've made it this far in 2020. We're almost there, baby. Speaking of next year, 2021, we have got a brand new Skybound coming for you early in the year. It's happening in February. So the link is going to be dropped there in the chat, and you can save the date right now. We will be back. Danny Fernandez and I will be back. We are so thrilled to get a chance to be able to run these for you guys. It's so much fun. It's so exciting. And this has been a fantastic, albeit all things considered, a fantastic year. And I hope that you and your loved ones are okay and you guys continue to stay safe. Remember to pay it forward. Be nice to one another. Wear a mask. Let's slow this sucker down. Let's get back to normal. Let's keep reading comics and playing games. And this has been the Skybound Holiday Expo, and we will see you guys next year. Have a good one. Happy holidays. Good night. Bye.